Killings Task Team, for example, Cele has strongly disagreed with his successor, Senzo Mchunu, and his decision to dissolve the unit, arguing that it was established under the authority of an interministerial committee led by the president and therefore could only be disestablished by the presidency. He's described Mchunu's unilateral directive as procedurally incorrect. But that's just the start of it. There were many, many highlights in that. And I saw social media was abuzz and talk radio stations were abuzz with the testimony of the former police minister, Bheki Cele. And I think for me, one of those that stood out, I don't know about you, you will share with me what stood out. The allegation that he had a conversation with Kat Matlala to the effect that General Shadrack Sibia was working with Matlala, and there was an affidavit to be produced, which affidavit was to implicate the head of crime intelligence, General Dumisani Khumalo, in some wrongdoing, and it was all being cooked up to get a premise on which Khumalo could be dealt with and basically be dealt with disciplinarily, including those allegations of a Rolex being stolen. Cele alleges that he was told by Matlala that all of that was being cooked up. Now, there's some serious allegations there that have come through. But as I say, there was a lot that came through. So we'll give you full reporting on that, and that's coming up at the top of 7. In fact, at about 10 to 7 this morning, we'll reflect fully on that testimony of Bheki Cele. It turns out, and this is a point we debated at some length yesterday with the Gauteng government spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga. But it turns out the much hyped Amapanyaza, those green uniformed crime prevention wardens patrolling Gauteng streets, were set up and deployed outside of the law. The public protector has found that Premier Panyaza Lesofi's government had no legal basis to recruit, train or deploy the wardens for police duties, saying their establishment was unlawful and unconstitutional. Advocate Koleka Gcaleka says the province simply didn't have the powers to create its own policing unit, something reserved for national government as well as local government in terms of the scheme of the constitution. The report says the Premier and his team must now clean up the mess by turning Amapanyaza into properly appointed traffic wardens within 6 months. So at the top of 7 a.m., I'll be in conversation with Advocate Koleka Gcaleka, the public protector. I guess we'll take that route that they always take in the public protector's office. What happened? What should have happened, and what is there a discrepancy between what happened and what should have happened, and if there is, what is the remedy for it all? I think that's the line of conversation we will take with Advocate Koleka Gcaleka at the top of 7 a.m. After years of successive city administrations letting Johannesburg's inner city fall into chaos and grime, Mayor Dada Morero has suddenly found his zeal and his overall boots and hard hat. Overalls is the word we use. Is it overalls or coveralls? I've heard that debate. But anyway, his overalls, boots and a hard hat. The mayor has been all over De Villiers Street, Claim Street and Plain Street, leading high-profile clean-up operations to reclaim the city, he calls it, sweeping away traders and makeshift stalls and that have lined the pavements for years. But that show of action has sparked a legal backlash with informal traders and their lawyers accusing the city of heavy-handed evictions and saying no one except the mayor seems to know what the plan really is. So at the top, in fact, at about 7:35, my guest will be the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, Dada Morero, and we'll be reflecting on the campaign, just, going into it, what suddenly given him this Damascus moment about the trajectory in which the city, the inner city in particular, was headed. We'll talk to Dada Morero, the mayor, at about 7:35. All your regulars locked and loaded once again this morning. We have Ann Musa at the news desk, Rob Byrne with your traffic updates. Zaikan is watching sport for you throughout the morning. Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief, and that is coming up in the next few minutes. Dowling Lechela, as always, with insights into the economy, business, and market updates. And of course, more Africa, Sipho Mantula, with an expanded version of the Africa Update, this being a Friday. Your calls, I welcome all of those. Do engage. Let's talk. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. I'll take your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. All right, we've started it up. We've revved it a few times. It's idled enough. Let's put it in gear and get going on this Friday morning.
The Blues chase a crucial win in their own backyard.
Releases James, and it deflects, and it's there! Enzo Fernandez with the simplest of finishes to give Chelsea the lead.
But the Black Cats want to demonstrate why they belong in the top half.
Decent ball in, the header down is in! Sunderland have it, and listen to the noise. It couldn't have gone any better.
This is the Premier League. Witness Chelsea FC versus Sunderland FC on Saturday, 25 October at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Don't miss your chance to shape the future. The Limpopo Investment Conference 2025, Limpopo Rising, Africa's new investment frontier. Your gateway to unparalleled opportunities from October 30 and 31st in Polokwane. Seize the groundbreaking prospects in mining, agriculture, tourism, and green energy. Connect with global visionaries and investors driving Africa's economic boom. Limpopo's wealth is waiting. Be part of the rise. Join the conversation on lic.lcxonline.co.za. Invest in Limpopo. Invest in success.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, 15 minutes after 6. Let's start with the morning brief in brief, and let's turn for that to Melissa Puta. Melissa, good morning to you. So a tornado has hit the MK party, but it's one that they want to be hit by. That is Tony Tornado Yengeni has now joined the MK party.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, the former ANC NEC member Tony Yengeni has been appointed as the second deputy president of the Umkhonto weSizwe party led by Jacob Zuma. Zuma announced the appointment in Durban on Thursday, explaining that the decision was made because the current deputy president, John Hlophe, is busy managing the party's parliamentary and legal affairs. Yengeni will therefore assist in running the party's broader operations. Zuma praised Yengeni as a loyal comrade with strong liberation struggle credentials and long-standing ties with him. In his acceptance speech, Yengeni paid tribute to Zuma, calling him a selfless leader who continues to fight for the economic and social freedom of South Africans. Yengeni also reflected on their shared history, noting that both faced politically motivated corruption charges related to the arms deal and criticized the justice system for its delays in Zuma's case. Yengeni's appointment marks his formal break from the ANC, where he previously had tensions with the party leadership. As MK Party's second deputy president, he is now the third highest ranking official after Zuma and Hlophe within the party.
And the criminal justice system is dealing with the situation in Milnerton High School. There's been some developments there around the bail applications of some of the learners involved in that incident.
Yes, so 6 of 8 Milnerton High School pupils have been charged with assault after a viral bullying attack on a fellow student have been released on 2,000 Rand bail each. The incident involved a 16-year-old boy who was beaten up by what appears to be members of the school's rugby first team. The 6 older pupils faced 8 counts of assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, while the 2 juveniles were released, one with a warning and the other into parental care. Bail conditions require the accused to avoid contact with the victim and witnesses, stay away from the school, surrender their cell phones and pins, and refrain from any criminal activity. The Western Cape Education Department arranged alternative venues for the pupils to be able to write their exams, and the court has postponed the case to the 20th of January 2026. Protests by parents and community members have also raised concerns over a culture of violence at the school, while the Department of Basic Education has urged that the video not be shared anymore in order to protect the victims. Authorities and unions have also emphasized that ensuring learner safety and supporting the victim and upholding due processes is important during this time.
The next story is one that we touched on a couple of days ago here on the show, the phenomenon of baby abandonment and some of the possible solutions thereto. Tell me what has led to what's going to be a protest by baby savers.
So today, Baby Savers South Africa will be holding a protest at the Union buildings opposing the proposed amendments by the Department of Social Development that could criminalize baby boxes, forcing the closure of life-saving facilities. Baby Savers are monitored boxes that allow safe and anonymous infant relinquishment, saving hundreds of lives since 1999. The Gauteng Social Development Department previously declared Baby Savers illegal in 2023, despite a High Court interim order allowing their continued operation until January of 2026. The department now seeks to classify baby savers as abandonment in proposed legislation, effectively equating safe surrender with dumping of children. The protest aims to submit a memorandum urging the scrapping of the amendment and the legalization of safe baby surrender. Organizations highlighted recent cases of infants at risk due to lack of safe alternatives and pointed to Namibia's safe haven legislation, which has successfully reduced unsafe abandonment. Citizens are encouraged to submit objections to the proposed amendment before the 25th of October, which is tomorrow, via the Department of Social Development emails. So that will be happening today, and we are talking to one of the representatives a little later on in the show to get more information on that.
All right, thank you for that. That's Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief for this morning.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
On the weather front, no major warnings, no advisories from the Weather Service, so it promises to be a good day. Pretoria will be fine with a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 31. Same conditions in Johannesburg, fine 11 to 30. Same conditions in Vereeniging, 10 to 31. Mbombela will be fine 10 to 30. Polokwane, fine 9 to 30. Mahikeng, fine 15 to 30. Bloemfontein, fine 13 to 30. Kimberley will be fine and windy, 14 to 33. Uppington, fine and windy, 22 to 34. Cape Town will be partly cloudy at first, otherwise it will be fine with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 24. George will be fine, becoming cloudy from the evening, 14 to 21. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 15 to 23. East London will be fine, becoming cloudy in the afternoon, 18 to 24. Durban will be fine with a minimum of 19 and a maximum of 25. Richards Bay will be fine with a minimum of 16, minimum of 16 and a maximum of 25. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will also be fine with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 22.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
A former president is going to jail. A former president is going to jail, but that is in France. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has entered the La Santé prison in Paris to begin a 5-year sentence after being convicted of criminal conspiracy for allegedly funding his 2007 presidential campaign with millions in illicit cash from the late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. The 70-year-old who led France from 2007 to 2012 is the first former French head of state to serve jail time since Marshal Philippe Pétain, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, was imprisoned for treason in 1945. Let's speak to Anthony van Nieuwkerk, a professor of international and diplomacy studies at the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. Extraordinary turn of events. Just tell me how Nicolas Sarkozy landed himself in this position.
Yes, good morning, Thulasizwe. It's quite an extraordinary story, and apart from Sarkozy the man, who was a complex character, an accomplished politician, but also controversial, it impacts, on the image of France globally, and in particular how Africans view France, the relationship between France and Africa, because there was a betrayal. But how did he end up in this position? Well, Nicolas Sarkozy is also, apart from a politician, as a businessman, and he was hedging his bets. And like so many politicians these days, was open to a form of corruption. He made a deal with Muammar Gaddafi to get a lot of money, some of it in cash. Some people say up to 66 million euros as campaign money, in return to do favors for Muammar Gaddafi, who at the time, in the 2007, was not a popular man in the West, was sort of shunned by the Americans and the Europeans. And Nicolas Sarkozy said, if you give me money, I come into power in France, I'll return the favor, I'll make you popular, I'll invite you to the Champs-Élysées, I will host you for dinner, I'll introduce you to important people in Europe. And that's exactly what happened. And then, of course, investigative journalists and the judicial system caught him out. He was tried more than once, found guilty, put in isolation for 5 years. He's appealed his sentence, but the system works such that he will have to stay in isolation until his case comes up again. He protests his innocence, but I think the deal is done.
How does it play in French politics? I mean, it's divided public opinion, his imprisonment, some saying that, it's judicial overreach driven by politics, but others saying that it's a sign of the country's resolve to hold powerful figures accountable.
Yeah, I think there's a divided opinion, but I think on balance, the French would probably say quite proudly that one of our very prominent politicians, who was quite powerful at the time, he opposed the Bush war in Iraq. He opposed the idea of Ukraine getting NATO membership. His hand was all over West Africa, a powerful man. And I think the French citizens would say the wheels of justice have turned. He was caught out and he's held accountable and he's gone to jail. And then on balance, maybe that is a good thing. But my earlier point still stands, He said to Gaddafi, give me money, I'll make you popular. The wheels turned and there was a betrayal, because when the uprisings started in North Africa, the Arab Spring, so-called, and affected Libya, Sarkozy was in front of the Europeans and NATO launching an attack on Muammar Gaddafi. Remember, he was assassinated by NATO forces. And France led the charge. So yes, very controversial man indeed.
And then lastly, let's talk about Muammar Gaddafi himself and how he played into that politics in Europe. He was a fascinating figure. His relationship was fascinating, his relationship with Europe. A pariah for a long time. Then it seemed there was a bit of a thawing of relations with the West, where he seemed to be somewhat embraced, only for him to later be, removed in actions that involved many of the countries that are part of NATO.
Yeah, no, indeed. I think you summarized it quite well. I think on balance, Muammar Gaddafi, powerful man in North Africa, close to Europe, influential in the affairs of the OAU and then the African Union. Remember, at the time of President Mbeki, there was quite a contest over who should control the AU, and should we have one government and one army and one currency. That was Muammar Gaddafi, quite controversial. He also reached out to Europeans in terms of business deals. In fact, the very same Sarkozy and Muammar Gaddafi had conversations about setting up a French nuclear power station somewhere in Libya. That didn't go anywhere. So it was very controversial, and he was taken out by NATO, by the West, essentially, because of his powerful influence in African affairs, opposing the French influence, particularly in West Africa.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time and your insights. Professor Anthony van Nieuwkerk, who is a professor of international and diplomacy studies at the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's kick off with Kaizer Chiefs under mounting pressure as they prepare to face Congo's AS Simba in the CAF Confed Cup on Sunday. This comes after a frustrating goalless draw against struggling Siwelele FC in the Premiership, their sixth straight game without victory. Co-coach Cedric Hayes admitted the team must become more clinical in front of goal. He also explained Khalil Ben Yusuf's absence from the touchline during that game.
No. As Halil attended a personal matter in Morocco, and he's coming back tomorrow. We decided as technical staff to give Peterson as the captain going forward.
On to other soccer news. Orlando Pirates will have to do what no other South African club has previously done if they are to avoid an embarrassingly early exit from the African Championship League at the weekend. Pirates must fight back from 3-0. That's the deficit in Soweto after losing the first leg of their second round tie of Saint Eloi Limpopo from the Democratic Republic of Congo that took place in Lubumbashi last Sunday. No South African has ever come back from a deficit of 3 or more goals suffered in the first leg of an African club competition knockout round tie. Elsewhere, a penalty in each half, enough to give Sean Dyche the perfect start. As Nottingham Forest manager, they beat Porto 2-0 to pick up their first win in the Europa League this season. On to cricket, the Proteas women are gearing up for tomorrow's World Cup showdown against Australia. The team carries a wave of momentum, having won 5 straight matches in the sport's biggest stage. Proteas opener Tasman Brits, who has represented South Africa in 2 previous T20 World Cup finals, says the team is confident and that confidence has never been higher. Facing Australia will be a stern test. The Aussies have displayed elite-level confidence throughout the tournament, posting scores over 300 on 2 occasions. That's your sport. Swing back. More sport. Top of the hour. I am Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musan. The headlines: some members of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of corruption and criminal infiltration in the justice system say they want the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi to appear before the committee to explain himself. The National Prosecuting Authority says the bail extended to 6 of the 8 learners from the Milnerton High School in Cape Town has strict conditions. The learners are accused of involvement in a violent bullying incident, and the Pentagon has announced its new generation press corps who will be permitted to report from the U.S. Defense Headquarters. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's going to be a disruptive few days, in fact, through Johannesburg region today and tomorrow. There's a couple of G20 dry run rolling road closures. This is primarily to test those routes. It'll get the VIPs arriving from the airports, Lanseria and OR Tambo, in through to sort of the Nasrec area, Sandton, Randburg, Melrose as well. So highways like the N1, N3, N12, Mike 1, R21, R24, the 512, Malabongwe from Lanseria, and then some non-highway routes like Rivonia, Greyston, Melrose Boulevard, Corlett, Athol Oaklands, Glenhove, Young, Smarts, list goes on and on. All of those roads will be subject at some point today between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. to these rolling road closures as these convoys, dry run testing convoys move through. It'll repeat tomorrow from 8 until 10 in the morning and then from 1 until 2:30 in the afternoon. So that's a couple of days worth of that. And then on Sunday, of course, you've got Ride Joburg. And if you want to drive Joburg on Sunday, I'd seriously suggest you get onto their website, ridejoburg.co.za, have a look at what's closed, and they do a very good reference for alternative route actions. Some of those roads that are closed will have you diverting quite some distance to get around them. Durban looks all right, no major problems. Cliffdale, Key Ridge, keeping an eye on that on a regular basis is fine. Coming through Kwamashu Highway, traffic lights down for a bit longer, probably Duffs Road and N2 due to major cable theft out that way. And Cape Town, it's going to be busy again coming through Hospital Bend. Philip Costana, the M3 remains closed until Monday morning between the Bend and the city centre. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndauling Lichela for the first update of the morning. Ndauling, let's start in China. Tell me about this 5-year economic plan focusing on investment instead of stimulus.
Happy Friday, Thulas. So China's top leaders have pledged to strengthen domestic consumption and accelerate homegrown technological development over the next 5 years. Following the fourth plenum, a key policy meeting to outline new economic goals, state media said Beijing would boost consumption while maintaining effective investment in sectors such as healthcare, elderly care, and urban infrastructure. Now, the message signals China's continued preference for investment-led stimulus rather than direct cash support to households, even as consumer spending remains sluggish. Economists say the focus reflects China's attempt to balance short-term growth pressures and long-term industrial ambitions. The plenum also emphasized the need for a significant leap forward in scientific and tech strength by 2035 as China pushes for greater self-reliance amid trade wars with the US. Now, Chinese leadership reaffirmed its 2025 growth target of around 5%, implying an average of 4.6% annual growth through 2035, an ambitious goal given weak domestic demand and the property market challenges.
And in company news, tell me about Raubex flagging a slump in earnings.
The group has warned that earnings would drop as much as 20% as offshore setbacks overshadowed a surge in local infrastructure work. Raubex's Australian arm took a 210 million rand hit after a project termination, dragging overall performance despite most of its other contracts exceeding expectations. Now, back at home, momentum in the local construction market provided a much-needed lift. The roads and earthworks division along the backbone of Raubex's portfolio thrived on a flurry of new Sunrail contracts valued at 5.6 billion rands, with the N2 and N3 upgrades running at full capacity. The division's operating profit rose strongly, offsetting softness in mining and property. Now, mining activity has started to stabilize following last year's chrome slump. Infrastructure projects tied to renewable energy and the urban upgrades, including Cape Town's Parliament restoration and the Post Dam wastewater treatment plant, also boosted its earnings. While the group's Australian woes weighed on profits, Raubex said its record domestic order book and new public-private partnerships position it for a steadier growth path in 2026.
All right, Ndauling, recap for us how we closed yesterday and how we're starting the day today.
U.S. markets back in the green as traders digest earnings. The Nasdaq leading the gains overnight, up 0.9%. Fueled by optimism around Intel as its third quarter results showed signs of a turnaround taking hold. Back at home, the JSE also staging a bit of a rebound and closing in the green yesterday, boosted by higher oil prices and improved sentiment as investors bet on SA being removed from the grey list. With that, the all-share closed 1.75% higher in yesterday's trading session. Zooming in on oil, holding on to gains this morning, up 3% and trading close to $65 per barrel. This, of course, after Trump hit Russian producers with sanctions, further fueling demand concerns. And then lastly, in Asia, stocks making a comeback with traders finding comfort ahead of the meeting between Presidents Xi and Trump, which is set to take place at the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit next Thursday. Now, this will actually be their first face-to-face meeting since Trump returned to power.
All right, thank you for that, Ndauling. We'll touch base with you once again just after 7:30 here on the show.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Sipho Mantula. Sipho, good morning. It's really the business end of this campaign in Cote d'Ivoire for the presidential election that is set to take place on the 25th of October. Tell me about the regional country blocs and their observer missions.
Refreshing morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa listeners. Indeed, Thulas, when we look, we are on the eve. It's already Cote d'Ivoire decides tomorrow on the 25th of October. ECOWAS and the AU, they have a joint electoral observer mission that they will be undertaking until the 2nd of November. When I look, Thulas, ECOWAS is led by the Omar Ali Toura, and the chairperson of the AU has also sent a team of 66 members from the AU coming from member states. ECOWAS have sent 187. And the mission of ECOWAS is led by the former president of the Republic of Nigeria, Osini Bajo. And that's where this mission, as you can see, there is a lot of issues on politics, security, defense that are part of this mission from both the AU and the ECOWAS. They will be observing those elections from tomorrow. As you know, that Cote d'Ivoire is critical to ECOWAS, is critical to the AU. Hence, for the first time, you see this joint observer mission coming from the AU as well as from ECOWAS.
So that's the challenge to Alassane Ouattara's tenure. Tell me about the challenge to Paul Biya's tenure. That's also under the spotlight.
Absolutely. Remember, we said on Sunday it will be the Constitutional Council of Cameroon that has to give a final endorsement of these elections. This week already they have dismissed 10 petitions that challenged the election results. That the preliminary were indicating Paul Biya going back to the State House. But Chiroma is still insisting to us that he will not accept any results. Once you have the Constitutional Council decision being pronounced to us, they are not subject to appeal. That's the last stage. And what we are seeing in Cameroon, we might have an electoral dispute, post-electoral dispute of the presidential outcome that will take some time to us if the ECOWAS and the AU don't address it urgently.
And in about 5 days' time, another electoral showdown plays itself out in East Africa this time, and at the heart of it, President Samia Suluhu Hassan of Tanzania.
So there are challenges about these elections in Tanzania. Yesterday I was in one webinar which were looking at what are the possibilities, what is happening. It will, for the first time, by the way, remember Samia Suluhu appear on the ballot for the first time since she took over from the sudden death of the predecessor, John Magufuli, in 2021. Now, Chama Tulas is going to face this issue, what you call the issue of suppressing political dissent. There are many opposition leaders who have been arrested. There are issues also of the Twitter space being dominated by the presidency alone, that he has banned even the internet in Tanzania. We have Chadema party that was banned. We have Tundu, who have been in prison on prison charges. But what is also at stake to us is the democracy deficit in East Africa. Yes, we can talk about Julius Nyerere moments, but the moments that are critical now is of Samia Suluhu becoming the third African woman to lead that country, but at the same time to us promote tolerance and multi-party democracy. I think that's how we can thrive if you look at the challenges that are facing Tanzania. We'll talk about it from next week to us, as we say, Tanzania decide.
And lastly, in Ghana, Sipho, a moment of mourning, some sad news coming through from Ghana there.
Very sad. This is the wife of the former President Jerry Rawlings, also passed away 5 years ago, Tulas. The former First Lady of Ghana, Nana Konadu Ajeman Rawlings, passed away yesterday, Tulas, at the age of 76 at Rich Hospital in Accra. Messages have been coming across Ghana and from women's groups, citizens, remembering her decades of service and advocacy. This woman, Nana Konadu Rawlings, was born in 1948, the 17th of November, in the Cape Coast, in the central of Ghana. One can say a bit about her, Tulas, quickly, is that she was one of the women who wanted change. That's why in the 31st of December, she founded the women's movement in Ghana to promote rural development, education, and healthcare. So it is a loss to the people of Ghana with the passing of the former First Lady Nana Konadu Ajeman Rawlings.
Lastly, Sipho, in your historical archive, a significant day this was in 1945, 24 October 1945. What happened on this day?
Julius, I've done double barrel quickly to say it's 8 years of the United Nations Charter and entering into force. And diplomatically, we can say, and officially, the UN came into being in 1945. That was the 8 years of the UN. Remember, before the UN, it was the League of Nations. It becomes the United Nations Organization, UNO. And this day marks that shift of the United Nations. And probably in the 21st century, towards the 22nd century, the UN might have to reboot Tulas. It might maybe have to move away from New York and from Washington, as it moved also from Geneva. But also today I looked at 8 years of Mahikeng Motswako, born and raised hip-hop musician Jabulani Jaba, WHP Tambu, who passed away on this day at the age of 38. Tulas. Very important. You can see yesterday I was on Kwaito, today I'm on
let me test
I don't
you.
know from you which song of WHP
Khatalina. Let's do this. Wait. Let me say this.
Yeah.
Kilitla laka hiti. You're supposed to say. Fly like Serantabule.
Serantabule, I don't know that.
You're lost. You're lost, my man. You only know Bosokimang.
Bosokim Duli stands at his elbow for more.
Fly like Serantabule. Yet another hit like it's wonderful.
Wow, Tulas, I didn't know that you know hip hop.
Jabba was the one, my man. All right.
Okay.
Super. Thank you for that.
Asante sana, Tulas.
That is Sipho Mantula there with the Africa Update, and of course that historical archive that got me going there for a moment.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The River Islanders are in it to win it, but their visitors, the Iron Union, targets the bag with 3 points.
This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be.
Catch SV Werder Bremen up against FC Union Berlin on Friday, 24 October at 8:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Former Police Minister Bheki Cele's testimony before the ad hoc committee of Parliament that is investigating claims of mafia-style infiltration of the country's law enforcement was nothing short of explosive. Cele expressed his disagreement with the decision taken by his successor, Senzo Mchunu, in trying to disband the political killings task team. That was just one aspect. Before we turn to Abongwe Kobokana to get an update on that, let me play you an excerpt regarding that particular issue of the disbanding of the political killings task team.
On this matter of political interference, and the person, nothing will change me as I'm sitting here to believe that the process was wrong to disband the PKTT. Whether that is illegal, legal gurus will have to explain. Whether that is unlawful, law gurus will have to explain. I just know one English word: it was wrong. Whether that is an interference, I don't know. Whether that is not doing the proper work, I don't know. But I believe, and that does not mean I'm correct, by the way, but I believe that it was wrong. It should have been done the way it came. That road that it came on of the president, the interministerial, the officials, the team itself could have done so. One little thing that could have been done here, one, is some form of consultation and talking to somebody. Now I know that even Mkwanazi and Masimula did not get the audience. I even know, let's say then is practical, is operational, I know. They did not get this letter that says you go and do it and report on the letter should have better said, you go and give me the report by the 20th of January of this PKTT, and from there I take the decision. I don't find the logic. So they must explain then it was interference, was the unlawful, illegal, and all. But I will stand by my words that it was wrong.
All right, that was the former police minister Bheki Cele. Just an excerpt from his lengthy testimony before the ad hoc committee. Watching all of that was Abongwe Kobokana, SABC News journalist. Good morning to you, Abongwe. So that was the aspect about the political killings task team. The other interesting aspect, I guess, had to do with the relationship between former minister Bheki Cele and Kat Matlala, Vusumuzi Kat Matlala. What came out of that testimony?
Good morning, Thulas and listeners of the SAFM. Look, the extract that you just played now earlier on with the former minister seems to sum up everything that had happened yesterday. But again, to answer your question is the fact that the relationship with Kat Matlala. The former minister from the very word go didn't deny any relationship with Kat Matlala in other form. The first time that he saw him or he met with him was in KZN in a particular fancy hotel, according to him. Apparently, he met with him being recommended by a son or Mabonga, a son of a particular of his acquaintance, that his Siputla was at the KZN, who has since passed away, was in the taxi industry. That's how he became to meet Matlala directly or in person. And then he even admitted to say that, look, he asked him, are you not Matlala? And then he admitted that, yes, he is Matlala. And the reason of knowing Matlala is that of the many media reports that were reported according to the criminal element issues that Matlala was involved into. But he said that, but he could not from the very onset dismiss the meeting with Matlala, given the fact that it's not him who played the meeting, but it was also Mabona. So he could not dismiss him on the basis of what he heard about him in the media and the likes. So he entertained him, and then Matlala went on to actually elaborate on the reasons why he had to meet with him. One of those reasons was the fact that he was told by Matlala that he shouldn't be working with the former president, who is now the leader of the MK party, President Zuma, and also also with him as Cele, and also, but also in Thailand with the now the Minister of Police, which is Senzo Mkhulu. Those are the allegations that he said that Matlala told him about. But at the core was the issue of the former the Gauteng crime intelligence boss, Dumisani Khumalo, wanting him to actually, I think in the form of an affidavit, to actually block him, that is Khumalo going to court in so far as the cases that Matlala was actually accused of, and because the belief was that Matlala was going to actually, in fact, was going to lose in court, and then he was going to actually then be incriminated and be arrested at the same time. And then the former minister was like, from the face value, the guy that is Matlala was a good guy. He could believe him. and then went on and went on.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you for that. That's Abongwe Kobokana there with an update on the testimony of former Minister Bheki Cele.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Kick it off in Cape Town. Very heavy along the N2 corridor. There's been a crash by Borchard's Quarry. That's just ahead of the airport exit, so heavy from Khayelitsha. Another crash in front of Langa by Bunga Avenue, so there's another queue on the N2. And then you're sitting traffic all the way through to Hospital Bend. Obviously, traffic disrupted again with that closure of the M3 in and out between the Bend and Central Cape Town. Also, while we're in the city, no traffic lights. Robert Sobukwe 35th and Stellenbosch Arterial. Traffic all over that very, very substantially busy junction this morning. Joburg's N3 both ways, south to London, north to Buccleuch, queuing into the roadworks. Crash after Malabongwe on the N1 North, starting to backlog things. And Durban bound this morning, big backlogs coming out of the Pinetown area, M13 to Paradise Valley, and the M7 going into Pinetown, sitting from Hans Detman up to the N3. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
6 minutes to 7. Only 22% of the country's poor households currently receive free basic electricity, meaning that just 1 in 4 qualifying families benefit from the policy. This has been revealed during a parliamentary portfolio committee meeting on electricity and energy, where the Department of Electricity and Energy presented its plan to eliminate load reduction by March 2027. At the heart of all of those plans is Eskom, and we're joined now by Eskom spokesperson Daphne Mukwena. Good morning to you, Daphne, and thank you for your time. Firstly, from your perspective, because the whole electricity supply value chain involves a whole lot of role players, including municipalities. But what's your best understanding for why we have a situation where only 22.8% of the households that qualify for free basic electricity are actually receiving it?
Yeah. Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your listeners. So my understanding is that in actual fact of those numbers that we've mentioned, the 10 million that we've mentioned, and that only about 2 million is collecting from Eskom side, from the 7.2 million customers that we have, we've got about 485,000 that are collecting, and there's about 2.1 million that is legible. And one of the things, obviously, is that the process in itself, it's quite laborious, number one, and two, it's only about 50 kilowatt hours that customers can obtain from that free basic electricity. And when we interview customers, you can see that there's no appetite basically to use this 50 kilowatt hours or also the process of just receiving that 50 kilowatt hours. And in some areas, this process of re-registering takes about, or you need about every 6 months, people have to re-register, and it's just becoming laborious for customers to do that. So we need more simpler methods, to ensure that customers can actually redeem these tokens or free basic electricity tokens. Yeah.
So apart from the difficulty that, the insufficient supply of electricity poses for those indigent, families, what are the implications on your side? For instance, do you link the difficulties of the free basic electricity program with some of the ills that you then identify further downstream within the supply system? For instance, issues such as theft and illegal connections.
Look, and the reason and that is because obviously if I bypass my meter, then I can basically get.
Sorry, Daphne, I don't know what changed. We could hear you perfectly just a moment ago, but I think your line is starting to break up a bit. Yeah, let's try again.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Yeah. So I'm saying actually you have raised one of the reasons why, customers would not go for the 50 kilowatt hours or per household, that obviously if I've bypassed my meter or, that's part of obviously the energy theft that we're trying to deal with, then it becomes obviously easier for that customer not to get, the 50 kilowatt hours and rather get the free whatever capacity that he is consuming. So with the introduction, and let me start with, and as I've read that we only have half of the meters that we are supposed to be installing for this year. So we have now, as you would know, that we are now at the end of load shedding, which was one of our headaches. and we now are supplying electricity, meeting the customers or electricity demand now, as actually in this year, 98% of the time. In the previous year, 97% of the time. And in that other year, it was only 9% of the time. So currently now, we're now saying we have dealt with load shedding, now let's deal with load reduction, right? And one of the issues, obviously, it's free basic electricity, as you have mentioned. And the second issue is obviously saying that what is it after now as an indigent, making sure that the rest of the 2.1 million from Eskom side have received that. What is it? How can we make it easy? And hence that is why we are installing these smart meters, but also making sure that we actually load these meters, before even the customers have to go to the municipalities and try and collect their free basic electricity. So we loaded, they've got their 50 kilowatt hours. You might have heard that we are also in talks, the minister has been saying that to increase that 50 kilowatt hours. But we are ready with the 1.6 million customers that we are load reducing, which is about just 529 megawatts that we are actually load reducing on daily basis in the morning and in the evening. So we are ready. We've got the meters, we've got the suppliers to ensure that we reach that one point. We actually deal with that load reduction by end of 2027.
All right, I've got to thank you for that. Daphne Mukwena, the spokesperson of Eskom, basically at the heart of what Eskom will be doing to deal with both load reduction but also the difficulty in accessing this free basic electricity is this rollout of these smart meters. That's part of the plan from Daphne Mukwena and the team at Eskom. Let's go to N. Musa, who is on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, ad hoc committee wants Mkhwanazi in person to explain Cele allegation and G20 dry run to disrupt traffic routes in major parts of Gauteng. Good morning. Some members of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of corruption and criminal infiltration in the justice system say they want the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi to appear before the committee to explain himself. The committee members are not happy with Mkhwanazi's incorrect allegation that the former police minister Bheki Cele received money from criminal suspect businessman Vusimuzi Matlala. Mkhwanazi has since sent a message to the evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, withdrawing the allegation and apologizing to Cele. EFF leader Julius Malema is among the committee members, demanding that Mkhwanazi be held to account.
This last part of the SC is not necessarily something that must be directed to the minister. He said that to us about the minister. So he's got anything to say, he has to write down to us and say, it looks like I got my facts wrong, and therefore I apologize to the minister and to the committee and to the people of South Africa. So I don't think it's for minister to even say anything. If there is such a development, we're being taken for we're also being surprised. We can't be members of this committee. People come say things here, and then when they retract them, we hear them like any other person. It must come to us.
Earlier, the ANC chief, Mdumiseni Ntuli, said Mkhwanazi should put his retraction and apology in writing.
Withdrawal is very important because we were told in this hearing or this committee
that there are people who have a capacity to design and send the messages on behalf of your number without you getting involved in that. Now, a matter serious as the one that we're dealing with now, I am of the view that it should not just be withdrawn, as other colleagues have said, by merely sending an SMS. I think we need something officially, properly written, that must be publicly communicated, not in a way that it has been made available.
The National Prosecuting Authority says the bail extended to 6 of the 8 learners from Milnerton High School in Cape Town has strict conditions. The learners are accused of involvement in a violent bullying incident. The Cape Town Magistrates Court granted 6 of them bail of 2,000 rand each. The other 2 appeared in a juvenile court and were released on a warning. The accused have been suspended from school following a video which went viral, showing a grade 10 learner being assaulted with various objects, including a hockey stick. NPA Western Cape spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila says the bail conditions prohibit the learners from entering the school premises.
One of the conditions that we were waiting for before we postponed, we got an instruction or directive from the Department of Education in the Western Cape that they will provide an alternative place for them to write exams. They will have to study at home, but they will have to go to, I think, the Northern District to write the exams. And the matter has been postponed to the 20th of January 2026 to give them enough time to start and finish with their exams.
Gauteng authorities have urged motorists to brace for major traffic disruptions today and tomorrow in the cities of Tshwane, Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. This comes as authorities prepare for operational readiness ahead of the upcoming G20 Leaders Summit next month. Routes include the N1, N3, N12, M1, R21, R24 and the R512. The operations will result in temporary road closures, lane restrictions and rolling traffic stops between 9 o'clock this morning and 1 o'clock this afternoon. Tomorrow it's between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Phumzile Mlangeni reports.
The planned run drive will take place on Friday and Saturday across the 3 metros. Affected routes include those linking OR Tambo and Lanseria airports, the Waterkloof Air Force Base, Sandton and Nazareth, the summit venue. The RTMC says these measures are essential to enhance public safety, enforce traffic compliance and support ongoing law traffic enforcement initiatives. Motorists are urged to plan ahead, allow extra time and use alternative routes. Access for emergency and essential services will be prioritized.
And finally, the Pentagon has announced its new generation press corps who will be permitted to report from the U.S. Defense Headquarters. Over 60 journalists, largely from far-right platforms, have signed the new restrictive media policy agreement. They've also received accreditation. The BBC's Abiyoni Bolja reports.
Just a day after the new generation press corps was ushered in, another controversial alt-right journalist has joined the fray. Brianna Morello from Alex Jones's conspiracy theory program, InfoWars, an outlet which lost the civil case for falsely claiming that the Sandy Hook school shooting never happened. Joining her will be a plethora of right-wing influencers, including Turning Point USA's media venture Frontlines and MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell's Lindell TV. Earlier this month, all the major news outlets, including Fox News, walked out and handed in their Pentagon passes in defiance of the new policy, which prohibits the publishing of material not explicitly approved for release.
Recapping the top stories, some members of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of corruption and criminal infiltration in the justice system say they want the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, to appear before the committee to explain himself. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes on social media or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 GWMP series, 54-year-old Amos now pays only 1,004 Rand a month. And for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser, 55-year-old Andre pays just 776 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Let's head to, soccer action, and it's the Orlando Pirates coach, that's Abdusalam Wadu, saying the Buccaneers need to close the gap on Sundowns in the Premiership title. And we also bring you news from cricket as the Protea spin rebirth ending an 18-year wait in Pakistan. All the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
With a crash on the M1 North after Malabongwe, if you're coming up from the Velfred and Parkside, pretty heavy, moving through Randburg up to that scene. On your way to Four Ways, also no traffic lights, William Mandela and Leslie, so backlogs out of that side of Four Ways as well. N3 roadworks continue north of Buccleuch, south at London Road, queues both ways. And the Dipcliffe interchange, another busy one this morning, N1 North down to Uncle Charlie's. And the N3 is Spraidview, quite a backlog coming from Leondale Road up towards the Heidelberg Road exit. N3 north towards Joburg, absolute solid conditions through there. Durban this morning, N2 already sitting from the M7, making your way up towards Westwood Mall into the roadworks. The Kumashu Highway lights at Duffs Road and at the N2 still down. That's a problem with cable theft. Very busy coming out of the Kumashu area. Heavy going in the afternoons, busy coming out in the morning. And Cape Town a crash on the N2, pretty much opposite the airport, sort of industrial areas. So the N2 inbound, heavy from Khayelitsha. No traffic lights. Robert Sobukwe, 35th Avenue, Stellenbosch arterial, top of the airport. That very busy junction, extra busy this morning. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 7 on this Friday. It's great to be in your company. Welcome to it. The second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. Very quickly, before I move on and tell you, we've got a jam-packed hour in this hour between 7 and 8. But I do want to talk to, I'm seeing a few messages from the hip-hop purists of South Africa, right? Who are saying to me when I said to Sipho Mantula Khata Lenna, that was Kulichana. Yes, I know. I was just simply inviting him to step with me as we were launching into that Jabba verse that I was hoping that Mantula would log into. But you know Mantula, Mos. You know Mantula and his reggae. So there was a bit of a struggle there. What would summer be without Jabba? All right, we've found out since he passed on. But among some of what we will tell you in this hour, we'll talk to the advocate Koleka Kalega, the public protector, talking about Amapanyaza and the finding that their establishment, training, recruitment, and deployment, none of that followed proper prescripts of law. And Advocate Kalega will talk to me in the next few minutes. And immediately after that, we'll get the other side of the debate around the DA's proposal to scrap triple BEE, and in particular as it applies to the public procurement space. So the DA, you will know, that proposed a new bill that they are hoping will get the support of many parties and become law. They're calling it the Economic Inclusion for All Bill. But formations such as Black Business Council are pushing back. In fact, the BBC is going as far as calling it a continuation of apartheid. Khanke Matabane, the CEO of Black Business Council, will give us the other side. A couple of days ago, of course, we spoke to Matt Cuthbert. Matt Cuthbert of the DA, the policy head there, who was explaining what is entailed in that bill and what it is that they're seeking to fix within triple BEE. Now we'll get the perspective of Khanke Matabane. Then after that, we'll have a conversation with the mayor of Joburg, Dada Morero, about the cleanup campaign that's on the go. So that's some of what we will cover for you in what promises to be a jam-packed hour. So let's waste no further time then. Let's get into it. The second hour of the Friday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Zinzi, the Gen Z. Word on the street is you sold your car.
Yes, and I needed a glow up. Hashtag no hustle, no hassle.
So wait. The influencer got influenced by We Buy Cars.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And they came to me. They checked the car, they gave me an offer. Oh, and they paid me immediately. Easier than an Insta Live, without the weird DMs at 2 a.m.
I didn't understand half of the things you just said, but hey, We Buy Cars. Geared for the glow up, geared for you.
The South African Council for Educators, SACE, wishes all esteemed teachers, practitioners and lecturers a happy World Teachers Month. Thank you for shaping South Africa's future with passion and purpose. At Proudly SACE.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
All right, let's go back to a conversation we had yesterday with the government spokesperson for the provincial government of Gauteng, Elijah Mhlanga, about the disestablishment of Amapanyaza in the form that they are currently. Well, it turns out the much-hyped Amapanyaza, the green uniformed crime prevention wardens patrolling Gauteng streets, were set up and deployed outside of the law. The public protector has found that Premier Panyaza Lesufi's government had no legal basis to recruit, train or deploy the wardens for police duties, saying their establishment was unlawful and unconstitutional. Let's turn to the public protector now. Advocate Kollega Kalega joins me now on the line. Good morning to Advocate, and thank you for your time. You have a formulation at the public protector, and I suppose in the interests of time, we will skip perhaps the part that says what happened, what was supposed to happen, and perhaps get you to talk to us directly about the discrepancy between what happened and what was supposed to happen. What did you find?
Good morning to the and good morning to the SAFM listeners. In this particular matter, really, what we found is that in the recruitment, deployment of the wardens, what really did not happen was the due process in terms of the law. As we know that provincial government doesn't have the powers in terms of the Police Act to have police officers or persons employed with those particular powers within the province. Now, in this instance, the law was not followed, neither were they employed in terms of the Road Traffic Act. So that was basically the discrepancy which we found, is that they were not regulated in the course of the employment.
What explanation did you get from the provincial government? Because I read in your report that you were, as always, in constant communication with the responsible authorities, the Premier's office, as well as the Department of Community Safety in Gauteng. What explanations were given, and does it matter that the intentions were good?
Well, the explanation that we received is that, look, the province acted upon the high crime stats that have, not for the first time, but continuously been released by the South African police, and that it was a concern from them, but also from the work that the Department of Community Safety does. It became apparent that crime was becoming out of hand within the province, and that an urgent intervention was required. And as a result, the Premier had then announced some priority areas, and part of those priority areas was crime prevention. And in this respect, that they had to find a way. And according to them, they had consulted, but the South African Police Service had raised limitations in terms of their own processes to actually absorb such a large team at their level. Municipalities, the same, they had consulted. Well, the legal advice that they received from their own lawyers within the province and within the Department of Community Safety, which was tasked to then process this particular priority, was that it could be done. But however, the regulation or the legal framework within which they had applied was incorrect, and the process which they had applied in this respect was incorrect.
I suppose two areas of the Constitution and the law talk to this, Advocate Galega, and perhaps you can explain it so that we are all on board with your findings. The one is the demarcation of areas of responsibility, national, provincial, and local government, as far as policing is concerned. But the other is this whole designation of who can be designated a peace officer. Talk to us about those two aspects.
No, most definitely. I mean, the Constitution is very clear. Section 41 of the Constitution is very clear that in the designation of governments, none can encroach upon the area of the other. So where the one has got a responsibility, the other cannot take over that responsibility, but also the other can also not abdicate that particular responsibility, you know. But again, in terms of our findings, the Constitution finds that there must be cooperative governance. So it means that there must be alignment. And yes, in this instance, there was not alignment, and the wardens sought to do the work of the police, which they were actually not regulated to do. But further, what happened is that in terms of the Road Traffic Act as well, you know, there was no concurrence, and it requires that there must actually be a concurrence between the Minister of Police and the Minister of Justice, and in order to take such a decision. So taken from the Constitution is that there must be an institution that has the competency to, for instance, award the certificates in line with the conditions that are required to ensure that the wardens satisfy the requirements and also they act within their jurisdiction. And hence, we've made the remedial action that the Road Traffic Management Corporation also needs to be involved in the process once the particular trainings which the Premier themselves and the province have committed to have taken place.
Very quickly, please talk to that remedial action that has to do with converting Amapanyaza to lawfully appointed and deployed traffic wardens.
Yes, the remedial action which we've taken first and foremost is to the Premier of Gauteng. He needs to ensure in terms of his executive and oversight powers conferred to him in terms of Section 125(2) of the Constitution, that the implementation of this is done, because at the end of the day he is the Premier and he has the oversight, and that it is done in compliance with Section 3A of the Road Traffic Act, and it has to be concurred to by the Minister of Police as well as the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, but also to the MEC of Community Safety as the executive authority within which the provincial traffic department falls. So basically that they have to undergo the required training. The province has to ensure that there is cooperative governance in line with Section 41 of the Constitution. There's non-encroaching of powers. The powers must be conferred upon them by the departments that must concur to this particular decision, and that it must be inculcated within the Road Traffic Management Corporation, and there is remedial action to the CEO to do so, and that also the National Commissioner of Police also needs to ensure that they cooperate and give them the required powers to be able to be officers. Yes.
Public Protector, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Public Protector Advocate Koleka Galega.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
This economy makes me post once a day. Who does that? Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because get
extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks exclusively on the VodaPay app. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
South Africa, it's time to crown our next queen. The Miss South Africa 2025 grand finale is here, a night of beauty, power and purpose. Join Nomalanga Shozi as she hosts the most dazzling celebration of South African womanhood, live from the stage where dreams turn into destiny. Don't miss Miss South Africa 2025, Saturday the 25th of October at 7 p.m, only on S3. Who will wear the crown? Find out live on S3. Open up.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, let's turn to the issue around triple BEE. The Black Business Council has come out swinging, calling the DA's newly proposed bill to replace black economic empowerment a continuation of apartheid. The council says the DA's proposal to scrap race-based empowerment is nonsensical and calls it a step back to the days when black people were servants and shows a deep disregard for the lived reality of most South Africans. But the DA, on the other hand, you will know, insists that what it calls the Economic Inclusion for All bill will end cadre enrichment and finally create what it calls real economic inclusion for everyone, regardless of race. So let's unpack it all now. And I'm joined by Khanki Matabane, the CEO of the Black Business Council. Good morning to you, Khanki. Thank you for your time. The premise, the way I understand it, of the bill that the DA is proposing is that triple BEE has failed. It has not worked. All it has achieved is basically to enrich a few cadres, especially in the space of public procurement. What is your response to that, and then the proposals that they are putting in place to try and mitigate that?
Good morning to us and good morning to the SAFM listeners. The fact that the DA is emphasizing on inclusion, you can basically see that they are saying, let's leave the economy the way it is, let's find the ways of including black people by giving them handouts, and that is it. They must be happy in their own country where they are 93% of the population. They must be happy that they are being included by being handed out something in the forms of jobs, but they must never manage, they must never control, they must never own the economy. That's basically what they are saying. They are saying, no, we'll bring you closer, but don't ever think of controlling. Hence, we are saying that this is basically like apartheid, where black people were not allowed to do mathematics, they were not allowed to do physical science, they were not allowed to own shops, they were not allowed to own businesses. You cannot have 93% of the population be excluded and hope that you will have a stable democracy. It will never work. So it is very, very important that whoever comes up with any proposal, it must include the proper integration and not inclusion, but the participation of the majority.
What do you make of the argument that says triple BEE has failed, and in particular the argument that focuses on the ownership element as opposed to the other elements that are part of triple BEE and the factors that are considered? For instance, the DA in laying the foundation for this proposed bill cites, and it attributes this to Professor William Gumede, and says 1 trillion rand, in this quotation, 1 trillion rand has been recycled among under 100 people since 1994.
Yeah, the unfortunate part with even the Professor Gumede's so-called research is that he just stamps like figures. So when we look at triple B has got different elements, and one of the elements, for example, is employment equity. As we speak now, we've got black CEOs in the various sectors. We've got black CEOs in the JSE listed companies. We've got black executive directors, we've got black chairmen, we've got black senior managers, ourselves included. We've got a lot of black people who are in serious positions because of employment equity. So we can't say that is enriching the few or it doesn't benefit the other people. We've got a lot of black chartered accountants, black lawyers who are even in junior positions, they would not have been there because before 1994. We've got, if you just go to any sector, go to any radio stations, most of them that were white, we did not allow black people. We've got black people now who are running the shows. So it's not true that BEE benefits the few. It's that they are trying to create a narrative that is not correct. We're not saying BEE is functional 100%, but there's no way you can do away with a race-based a past like apartheid without using laws. Because remember, South Africa is a constitutional democracy. You can only be able to undo the harm that was done by apartheid by repeating those laws and replacing them with other laws that are going to empower 93% of the population.
In fact, you take me nicely to my next question. The other premise is that the bill that they're proposing and the system that the DA is proposing would move us from using race as a proxy for disadvantage, but instead we would use poverty as a proxy for disadvantage.
Yeah, which is a flawed argument, because black people were not discriminated as individuals. They were discriminated. So whatever solution we are looking at, you must look at a solution that is going to empower the group. The fact that we've got 1 or 2 billionaires is neither here nor there, because remember, we're in a capitalist environment. Because when they talk about a few being empowered, they won't tell you about the Afrikaners who became billionaires because of BEE. They don't tell you about the fact that you will only have a handful of white billionaires because of the system of capitalism. So we're not going to have everyone being a billionaire. But I can tell you now, we've got members who are running engineering companies, doing business in the mines. We've got accountants, lawyers. Those people would not have been there if there was no BEE, if there was no race-based policy. So their argument is wants to achieve a certain objective, which won't happen because they are trying to basically ignore the past. They are ignoring the fact that we had apartheid, and fortunately they don't have the majority in parliament. So I don't think that bill will even go any further.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Khanki Matabane, CEO of the Black Business Council. Let's switch it around. Let me go to Ann Musa and then come back to Zaikan in a moment.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, Reserve Bank Governor Lesija Kganyago says the country is continuing to face deep structural challenges despite generally better near-term economic results. The challenges include infrastructure deficiencies, high public debt levels and weak investment. Some members of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of corruption and criminal infiltration in the justice system say they want the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi to appear before the committee to explain himself. Committee members are not happy with Mkhwanazi's incorrect allegation that the former police minister Bheki Cele received money from criminal suspect businessman Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. And Gauteng authorities have urged motorists to brace for major traffic disruptions today and tomorrow in the cities of Tshwane, Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. This comes as authorities prepare for operational readiness ahead of the upcoming G20 Leaders Summit next month. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
This traffic report is brought to you by Auto & General Business Insurance. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Joburg. First up, fairly heavy again today. It's been a really busy week on the run-in from Lenasia and Eldorado Park. The N1 up into Deepcliff and then down to Uncle Charlie's. Jam-packed again. You get a queue from well back beyond that Golden Highway exit. So as you come off the Potch Highway onto the N1 through the bend, that's about where you're going to hit the traffic. Main road from Lone Hill down to Bryanston Drive. That's jam-packed today. Crash after Malabongwe Drive. Got you on the brakes from Moranberg up to Four Ways. And the N3, those roadworks pushing on. In fact, the N3 North a bit complicated this morning. You queue from sort of Alex up to Buccleuch into the roadworks, and then you queue as you get through Buccleuch onto the N1 down to Ravonia because of a crash scene there. N3 North at Sprayview jam-packed up to Heidelberg Road, and then from Cement Factory up to Galulis, that section of the N3 pretty busy as well. Durban, just a reminder, the traffic lights from the Commercial Highway are down at Duffs Road and at the N2. It's going to be a long-term issue. That's some really major cable theft that is affecting that area. You queue in the morning coming out of Commercial and queue pretty heavily again in the afternoon. M7 into Pinetown, that's bad from North Dean, Queensborough side up over St John's Avenue Bridge. N3, Peter Maritzburg to Durban looks okay. A little bit of traffic at Market Road, Durban bound, a little bit on the N3, Peter Maritzburg bound at Ashburton. Cape Town's N2 outbound, fairly heavy through Somerset West this morning. Friday volumes noticeable there. And of course, a congested run into Hospital Bend. With that closure of Philip Kosana, it's a full closure between Hospital Bend and the city centre until 5 a.m. Monday. It gets busy coming in through the Bend area in the morning, but during the day and into the afternoon, it gets really heavy on the City Bowl and CBD side as you can't get out on that highway. You've got to reroute through that central area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
That traffic report was brought to you by Auto and General Business Insurance. Auto and General, never not there. Auto and General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, Zai, I'm all over the place, man. I'm looking. What are we talking
What
about?
are we talking about?
Other than you following me all the way into the cliff.
If not, we are there already. On our way.
Other than that, tell me about Orlando Pirates and their coach. What is he saying?
Yeah, closing the gap is what he's saying. But Sundowns, they run the league like Usain Bolt. So hopefully that Pirates can catch up. But Abdul Salam Wadu insisting that their experienced midfielder of Makhahleni Makula remains an important part of the squad, even though he's still recovering from injury and yet to feature this season. But with the Buccaneers now looking to the leaders Sundowns, Wadu admits competition for a place is fierce.
I have seen a great character of my players, of my team, trying to score goals, going forward, not just protecting this goal. We have seen that during all the game, we tried to score more goals. Unfortunately, we didn't have this efficiency in the box. But let's say I hope they kept these 5 goals they didn't score for this Saturday.
Let's look at the Protea squad who've ended an 18-year wait for a test victory in Pakistan, clinching an emphatic 8-wicket win in Rawalpindi to level the series. Keshav Maharaj and Simon Harmer led the charge with 17 wickets between them, while Sanuran Muthusamy added further control to a dominant 3-spinner attack. Harmer, who finished with a career best of 6 for 50 in the second innings, says the success was built on discipline.
Yeah, I think if you look at the 2 test matches, it was always somebody different putting their hand up. Sen in the first test bowled like an absolute genius. Then Kesh coming back into this game, bowled incredibly well in the first innings with very good control, and then reaped his rewards and cashed in, and then myself in the second innings. So I think hats off to Shukri and the selection panel for backing a sort of 3-spin prong attack.
On to tennis action, Yannick Sinner was made to work by Flavio Cobolli before the top seed mastered his fellow Italian to reach the quarterfinals in Vienna. Sinner dominated the first set 6-2 to head into the last 16 tie, but then had to remain patient as Cobolli dug deep to clinch the second set 7-6. And finally, after a decade of roaring engines and sold-out grandstands, the Mexican Grand Prix will celebrate its 10th anniversary this weekend as a major economic driver and international showcase for the country. There'll be a grand event were to mark the milestone, which will be reflecting on the event's journey since returning to the F1 calendar in 2015. The event will highlight collaborations between FIA officials, local government and private sponsors and institutions. That's your sport. We'll rev our engines top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's turn to Ndauleng once again. Ndauleng, so today is D-Day, is it? As far as the Financial Action Task Force grey list is concerned.
And investors appear confident that the country will shed its grey list status when FATF delivers its verdict today, Thulas. But some investors are warning that the country's credibility test doesn't end here. Now, having met all 22 FATF action items, from tightening oversight of financial flows to prosecuting complex money laundering cases, SA has done the hard work to restore trust in its regulatory system. And the FATF's on-site visit in July, its final review step, has also boosted expectations of a clean exit. As we await the move, markets are far ahead, already pricing in a removal from the grey lists. Analysts, in the meantime, saying the real risk here is if the country is not removed from the list, that would rattle investor confidence. Economists also adding to the mix, saying delisting will lift compliance burdens and modestly improve sentiment toward local assets, but not spark major rallies, as the delisting has already been priced in.
You know that moment when you're not feeling well and you are now at the pharmacy and you're picking up your prescription, and the pharmacist is going to the back and picking it up, and they come back and say, "Do you mind taking a generic?" What's your usual answer?
My usual answer is generics because it's cheaper. Come on, Thulas.
So you have full confidence, no doubts. Tell me about that and how that is playing into the business that is Clicks.
So it's really homegrown brands that are boosting earnings here, from pharmacy generics to beauty staples as well, really proving to be its strongest engine of growth. Now, the retailer closed its financial year with higher profits, wider margins, underlying how its private label and generic strategy continues to deliver. During the annual period, revenue rose 5.3%, while earnings climbed nearly 14%. Private label and exclusive products surged 11% to 9.7 billion rands, now making up more than 30% of Clicks' front of the shop sales. In the pharmacy segment, Clicks' own generic medicines, which offer customers lower cost alternatives, also gained traction, contributing to stronger trading margins and growing the group's share of prescription volumes. Now, the group CEO, Bettina Engelbrecht, said customers were increasingly choosing Clicks' private label and generics because of their proven quality and price positioning, helping to cushion households under financial pressure. Looking ahead, the group is pushing ahead with its store expansion plan, saying it'll cross the 1,000 stores mark by the end of the year.
All right, lastly, Ndauleng, recap market activity for us at this hour.
Starting in Asia, markets are in the green this morning, with the Japanese Nikkei leading the gains, up 1.4%. Sentiment in the region really being boosted by gains in tech stocks. Then over in Wall Street, all eyes are on the inflation print out later today, and ahead of the figures, the futures in positive territory. Coming back home, trade closed in the green yesterday, with the oil share up 1.75%, boosted by gains in the oil price that filtered through to local counter Sasol. And sticking with oil prices, slightly easing this hour, but still trading above $65 per barrel. Then over in currency markets, the rand remains steady at 17.34 to the dollar.
All right, Ndauleng, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you one more time just after 8:30 here on the Morning Brief.
The Expresso Morning Show has been nominated in 5 categories in the 3rd Annual National Film and Television Awards South Africa.
It all happens on Saturday, the 22nd of November 2025 at the South African State Theatre in Pretoria. And public voting is open from the 13th of October to the 20th of November at midday.
So visit nationalfilmacademy.com, register and vote for Expresso Morning Show in all 5 categories.
Then, of course, catch us weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. right here on S3.
S3.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
After years of successive city administrations letting Johannesburg's inner city fall into chaos and grime, Mayor Dada Morero has suddenly found his zeal and his overalls, boots and hard hat. The mayor has been all over de Villiers, Claim and Plain streets and other streets in the inner city, leading high-profile cleanup operations to, in his words, reclaim the city, sweeping away traders and makeshift stalls that have lined the pavements for years. But that show of action has sparked a legal backlash, with informal traders and their lawyers accusing the city of heavy-handed evictions and saying no one except the mayor seems to know what the plan really is. Well, let's find out what the plan is. Mayor of Johannesburg, Dada Morero, joins me now. Let's start with the basics, Mr. Mayor. The city centre has been in decline, and good morning to you. The city centre has been in decline for a very long time, such that it reached a state where parts of it were simply unlivable. Why now?
Well, thanks to Thulasizwe for the interview, and good morning to you. You to know that we went into the inner city in November 2024 with all the senior managers. We did the walkabout. I think it was 2 months after I was elected, to assess the issues and the problems that are in the inner city. We went back into the Dokota, we set up a plan, and in May we then did the state of the city. In June we passed the budget. Once passing the budget, it meant we'd have the necessary resources to deal with the infrastructure issues, cleaning issues and all that stuff. And now we're at an execution stage to execute all our plans as announced in the state of the city and in our budget. So we are now executing. So we then said we'll go and start in the inner city based on our plan that we evaluated in November last year when I did the walkabout with all senior managers in the city. So we are implementing that plan in simple terms, and we started in de Villiers because it's been a nuisance. You know that there's a lot of people trading there without any permit, and they're trading in the spaces that are declared non-trading areas. So we did Lillian Goy, it's proper, it's just next to de Villiers. So we said, let's ensure that the entire precinct is proper, it's reclaimed, and then we can go to the next precinct. And that's the approach.
And some of the work you're doing is commendable, Mr. Mayor, in terms of cleanup, but it doesn't take away from the responsibility. Just the level of neglect, it distresses me, I won't lie, because I do go to the inner city quite a bit. The water, brown, dark grey water flowing all over the place, dug up spaces where you don't know whether it was construction that was then abandoned somewhere midway, and then the other element is just the garbage that you would see in some pockets of inner city Johannesburg, over and above the informal trading that seemed to be unregulated. Why is the informal trading a priority over and above all these other things that I describe? The grime and the smells of some of the pockets of the inner city. How did it get to this point also?
It contributes to the dumping that you are seeing. It contributes to infrastructure being clogged and blocked because they throw away and they just dump anywhere they wish, which contributes to the problems. Now, what we have done, we've got 150 kilometers of water infrastructure, both sewer and water that needs to be replaced in the entire inner city. Because your pipes there that were done some years ago are still pipes. Now they are finished. You can no longer patch them, and they will continue to burst. Now, as part of the program in the inner city's replacement of that infrastructure of those pipes, both sewer and water, so that you can bring the PVC pipes, which are easier to manage in going forward. So that's what we are doing. 2, our teams at Pick It Up have been jacked up. We're increasing the teams, we're increasing the times so that we can ensure that there's proper cleaning. But the witness is also the community that stays in the inner city, that they also have to take responsibility of their spaces, and our councillors have started to engage them through public meetings, that they also have a responsibility to clean their spaces. They've got illegal taxi ranks, which also contributes because they dump anyway. So we're meeting with taxi associations. They've already made their pledge to support our efforts.
A common skeptical or perhaps cynical view is that you're doing all of this because there's local government elections coming through, as well as the G20. In fact, I've spoken to a few people who said, we wish we had a G20 every year, then perhaps we would see this level of activism.
No, see, Simelane, if I had come in 2023, I would probably be doing this now by then. I came in August, and November I did the walkabout with all senior managers, so you can see the program was being unpacked, it was unfolding. I went into a budget adjustment in January, and we went into a state of the city address, then we went into a budget address, and we were clear that what are we going to do in the inner city and what resources we need. So we've got a budget so that the teams can be there. You can't just go into the inner city. You don't have the necessary resources. You have not budgeted for the work. You have not understood the magnitude of the problem. You needed to understand the magnitude of the problem and how you are going to approach it and how you're going to start. Parallel to what you are doing in the Villa State, you are also doing bed buildings in a process to reclaim the bed buildings. I've had two meetings already, property owners. I've had a meeting 2 days ago with investors who normally fund those that buy buildings in the inner city. Are also putting a strategy together to do with that building.
Lastly,
we are
then,
dealing with taxi, bus ranks that they look at. So it's a whole value chain that you're doing in the inner city.
Lastly, Mr. Mayor, we are learning even from activities such as the Amapanyaza and now the findings from the public protector, that even when the intentions and objectives are noble, if you don't follow procedure, you may run into problems. The allegation from institutions such as the Socio-Economic Rights Institute, who have taken you to court, is that in, for instance, evicting unlawful traders who were trading without permits, you didn't follow procedures. You were not even asking for those permits to see whether they have valid permits. And in that way, you are violating some of their rights. What do you say to that charge?
Yeah, well, CIR is going to lose a case this time around because we did not evict anyone. We went to the street that is declared a no trading street, and we enforced the bylaw. So no one was evicted. We went there at 4 o'clock in the morning. We deployed the officers, we deployed Pick It Up, we deployed City Parks, and we reclaimed the street where trading is not allowed.
Sure, not allowed, but people had been trading there and somehow entrenched over a period of time where you were not enforcing that bylaw.
No, I hear you, but now we're enforcing them. And we went in to enforce. So we have not removed anyone. They're going to lose the case because no one was evicted. And the traders that have permits and they're legit, and they're trading in the right places in the markets that the city had long created in those areas, are trading as we speak, including those that their permits have expired. We're helping them to get their permits renewed. And in fact, today we'll be issuing out those that have permits with smart cards so that we can manage the trading properly and professionally in the area.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I've got to thank you for your time. Let's leave it there for this morning. That's Dada Morero, the Mayor of the City of Johannesburg.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Traffic all over Joburg's N3 this morning. If you're coming north, you'll sit at Spruitview. There's a big backlog on the N3 up to Heidelberg Road. Then from the cement factory up to Galooly is pretty busy. And then the queue into Buccleuch's roadworks extends this morning. So it's from London Road up to the roadworks and then down through to a crash just before Rivonia. So N3 through Buccleuch onto the M1 South towards that Sunny Hill exit. Very heavy. The Mike 1's got some pressure between Boysons and Parktown. And if you're coming northbound on the M1, that earlier crash after Malabongwe Drive on the side of the road, now all lanes open, but there is a bit of onlooking going on at the crash on the southbound side, so northbound from Four Ways up into Buccleuch, staying busy there as well. Durban through to Pietermaritzburg, just vital that we keep you up to date with what's happening in Cliffdale and Key Ridge. So far so good this morning, no breakdowns in the roadworks and no major disruption. You'll get a good run through. M19, Reservoir Hills down towards the M2 highways busy, M7 into Pinetown, jammed up this morning from North of Dean all the way up over St John's Avenue Bridge territory. And Cape Town, just some heavy delays coming in on the N2, a crash in front of Khayelitsha, N2 inbound before the R300. There's another crash shortly after around the airport runway, so there's two collision scenes causing delays. And with that closure of Philip Kosana until Monday, a lot of traffic congested just coming into Hospital Bend as it all gets a bit confusing and motorists merging from the N2 and M3, then having to merge again to get onto Nelson Mandela. There's also a backlog of traffic on the City Bowl side because you can't come out of Cape Town on Philip Kasana either, so that's just going to be another really busy day through there. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Design meets downtime on My Design Rules this Monday evening at 7 on S3. This week, our duos are challenged to create a family space for relaxing and connecting. Expect bold ideas, creative risks, and design drama along the way. Whose design will make the judges feel right at home and whose will leave them out in the cold. Open up your everyday to the extraordinary with My Design Rules. Monday evenings at 7, repeat Saturdays at 2, and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on S3.
Think about 6 years ago, when Amapiano was just a musical instrument. When streaming meant watching water flow, not videos online. And remote work was only said when your remote batteries died. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
It's coming up to 5 minutes to 8. The South African National Defence Force, SANDF, is voicing its concern over a viral video showing people in military fatigues, quote-unquote, terrorizing communities while pretending to be soldiers. Rear Admiral Prince Chabalala says the clip has caused immeasurable concern, stressing that the people seen in the SANDF uniform are not authorized and in no way represent the SANDF. He joins us now because they are concerned about the use of camouflage uniform in particular. Rear Admiral, good morning and thank you for your time. So let's talk about this video that you allude to. Just say a bit more about it and what in particular concerns you about it and how it represents the misuse and abuse of the military uniforms.
Yes, Thulasizwe, good morning to your viewers and yourself. We have seen the video that went viral on TikTok and other platforms where it is seen allegedly would be gangsters of young boys wearing our uniform. It is alleged that these young boys were terrorizing community in a community in Bloemfontein. And they were apprehended by members of the community. Allegedly, they were robbing people and doing other illegal activities whilst wearing the uniform, impersonating would-be soldiers of the SANDF.
And you confirm that these are genuine military uniforms that were used in this instance?
Yes. Our uniform is very distinctive. It's got its symbols, and some of them had even name tags of alleged members of the SANDF, and it was really shocking to us to see young people wearing our uniform. And we have seen in other cases, especially in TikTok, where members, particularly in KZN, known as Amabing, are wearing our uniform as part of their culture in terms of fashion or something.
How much responsibility do you take for failing in terms of command and control and discipline within your ranks, such that, I mean, let me give you an example. Let me level with you. In some of the countries in which I've worked and lived, it's simply unthinkable. No civilian would think of wearing a military uniform and thinking that they can get 2 kilometers down the line without facing consequences.
Yeah, we have made a lot of calls in the media and even urging the members of the public, including the South African police, including the military police, to ensure that the law, Section 104, is implemented by arresting any person found wearing our uniform. We have even now warning manufacturers of our uniform to make sure that our uniform is strictly distributed only in accordance to our orders. They are not supposed to sell this uniform to any other person other than the Defence Force in terms of our procurement procedures. And we have arrested and successfully prosecuted other members before that were found to have been having our uniform in their position. So we are taking every precaution to ensure that the integrity of our uniform is preserved. So we cannot be blamed for that. And what we have also seen and encouraging our members as well is that they must take their uniform back when they retire, because this is a control item. And in that, our members, some of them have been complying. Of course, some will obviously not comply. So we are appealing once again to our...
Is it optional? Is it optional, Admiral, for instance, on that aspect? Because you mentioned the manufacturers, that's one aspect. Then there are members who are active. But the other aspect you just talked to, I think, is important if you're trying to figure out where the leakages are coming from. Is the surrender of the uniform upon retirement a requirement, mandatory, as in you don't have a choice, or is it optional such that we sit here and you say you are quote-unquote encouraging?
Optional. Any person who contravenes this section is guilty of an offense and liable for conviction. Our members, they know that this is a control item.
Mm-hmm.
So we have made a huge call to even our own people to ensure that uniform is strictly returned when they retire from the service, as it is a control item. And even members, those who retire but who are still members of the reserve force, are also obliged to only wear this uniform whenever we are calling them for service only. Mm-hmm. No civilians and no person may use our uniform unless they are authorized by the Chief of SNF or the Minister of Defense to wear uniform for only official purposes.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you for your time. That's Admiral Prince Shabalala, Director of Defense Corporate Communications, joining us on that particular subject. Let's go straight to N. Musa, who is on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, structural constraints weigh heavy on South Africa's economy, and G20 dry run to disrupt traffic routes in major parts of Gauteng. Good morning. Reserve Bank Governor Lesija Kganyago says the country is continuing to face deep structural challenges despite generally better near-term economic results. The challenges include infrastructure deficiencies, high public debt levels and weak investment. Kganyago says the current era could erode some of the recent gains.
It is a very volatile environment that we are in. And all of these tensions, trade and geopolitical, are likely to slow down global growth and keep inflation in focus. Here at home, growth has exceeded expectations in the second quarter, lifting the projected annual growth rate slightly. Continued reforms remain crucial to unlocking South Africa's growth potential. Inflation has stayed low and stable, closer to 3%.
The UDM has raised concerns about reports of students using the National Student Financial Aid Scheme allowances to gamble online. It says the issue should be discussed at the National Dialogue. The UDM also says gambling is deepening poverty. It's demanding government regulate online gambling platforms, restrict advertising and provide support for those who are addicted. UDM's Acting Secretary-General Zandile Phiri says the rapid growth of the online gambling industry is cause for concern.
Unfortunately, students are victims, sorry about that, are victims of a wider social and economic crisis. The UDM is not blaming them, but we cannot ignore what is happening. We propose 3 immediate steps. The first will be the NSFAS and universities must work together to include financial literacy and responsible gambling modules. And then secondly, banks and payment systems services providers that distribute NSFAS allowance can block transactions to licensed betting accounts to protect students from financial harm.
Some members of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of corruption and criminal infiltration in the justice system say they want the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, to appear before the committee to explain himself. The committee members are not happy with Mkhwanazi's incorrect allegation that the former police minister Bheki Cele received money from criminal suspect businessman Vusimuzi Matlala. Mkhwanazi has since sent a message to the evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, withdrawing the allegation and apologizing to Cele. EFF leader Julius Malema is among the committee members, demanding that Mkhwanazi be held to account.
This last part of the SC is not necessarily something that must be directed to the minister. He said that to us about the minister. So he's got anything to say, he has to write down to us and say, it looks like I got my facts wrong, and therefore I apologize to the minister and to the committee and to the people of South Africa. So I don't think it's for minister to even say anything. If there is such a development, we're being taken for we're also being surprised. We can't be members of this committee. People come say things here, and then when they retract them, we hear them like any other person. It must come to us.
Gauteng authorities have urged motorists to brace for major traffic disruptions today and tomorrow in the cities of Tshwane, Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. This comes as authorities prepare for operational readiness ahead of the upcoming G20 Leaders Summit next month. Routes include the N1, N3, N12, M1, R21, R24 and the R512 that will be affected. The operations will result in temporary road closures, lane restrictions and rolling traffic stops between 9 o'clock this morning and 1 o'clock this afternoon, tomorrow between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Phumzile Mlangeni reports.
The planned run drive will take place on Friday and Saturday across the 3 metros. Affected routes include those linking OR Tambo and Lanseria airports, the Waterkloof Air Force Base, Sandton and Nazareth, the summit venue. The RTMC says these measures are essential to enhance public safety, enforce traffic compliance and support ongoing law traffic enforcement initiatives. Motorists are urged to plan ahead, allow extra time and use alternative routes. Access for emergency and essential services will be prioritized.
The former First Lady of Ghana, Nana Adjamand Rawlings, has died at the age of 76. She was the widow of Ghana's longest-serving leader, Jerry Rawlings, who led 2 coups before being twice elected as president. In 2016, Adjamand Rawlings became the first woman to run for president of Ghana but lost. She was known for establishing a movement credited with helping women across the country, especially in poor areas. The Pentagon has announced its new generation press corps who will be permitted to report from the U.S. Defense Headquarters. Over 60 journalists, largely from far-right platforms, have signed the new restrictive media policy agreement. They've also received accreditation. The BBC's Abiyona Bolia reports.
Just a day after the New Generation press score was ushered in, another controversial alt-right journalist has joined the fray. Brianna Morello from Alex Jones's conspiracy theory program, InfoWars, an outlet which lost the civil case for falsely claiming that the Sandy Hook school shooting never happened. Joining her will be a plethora of right-wing influencers, including Turning Point USA's media venture Frontlines and MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell's Lindell TV. Earlier this month, all the major news outlets, including Fox News, walked out and handed in their Pentagon passes in defiance of the new policy, which prohibits the publishing of material not explicitly approved for release.
Recapping the top story, Reserve Bank Governor Lesija Kganyago says the country is continuing to face deep structural challenges despite generally better near-term economic results. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
29-year-old Tsana saw the premium, did the maths and jumped on the outsurance deal. She now pays only 796 Rand a month for her 2025 Jetor Dashing. And after one quick call, 55-year-old Andre got an amazing premium of only 776 Rand a month for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754 today. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines Soccer News. Bafana coach Hugo Bruges has backed Helman Mkalele as his successor after the 2026 World Cup. And in rugby, the Bulls say the 9-match suspension hanging over Springbok prop Jan Hendrik Wessels will test the team's character ahead of tonight's clash with Glasgow. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Heavy traffic on northern parts of Joburg's highway network. A crash on the M1 South at Ravonia, but it's having a multi-highway impact. So if you like, the N3 from Edenvale all the way up to Buccleuch into the roadworks and then through Buccleuch onto the M1 down to Ravonia. So that's heavy. N1 South coming off the N3 North. The N1 North having a look at it. So from Fourways up to Buccleuch is heavy. And the N1 South from Allendale all backed up into Buccleuch to try and get through the interchange and into that N1 South traffic. Very big backlog through there. Santon pretty slow. Greyston Drive coming off the highway through towards Ravonia roadside, all backed up, and a lot of pressure through Crown this morning. Mike 1 M2 getting up through the Crown and on towards Parktown. N3 at Sprayview, that remains heavy for Joburg bound traffic as well. Crossing to Durban, the M19, Reservoir Hills down towards the N2's bad. Inunda Road through Parlock towards the N2's heavy, and the M7 going into Pinetown all jammed up from Queens Road up over St John's Avenue. Cape Town, though, traffic lights, top of the airport, Robert Sobukwe, Stellenbosch Arterial, that's a bit busy. Crash coming in on the N2 inbound in front of Khayelitsha by the R300. That's a queue almost back as far as Spine Road, and the usual bottlenecks through Hospital Bend on the N2 and M3 due to the closure of Philip Kosana Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 8, welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Friday morning. It's great to be in your company. We've got lots of ground to cover, so I don't want to waste any time. Let me read a few of your messages before we move on. We're trying to clear the decks. I realize that we've not taken any of your calls or messages this morning, so you will see. We'll make enough time. Don't worry. We've got you. Don't worry. We've got you covered. Let me read some of the messages. Someone says here, if you believed Mkhunu that he had the absolute power to unilaterally disband the political killings task team, then you will be prone to believe anything and everything. Not even the president has absolute powers to appoint ministers. It's just a theory, says that person there, weighing in on some of what has been coming through in the ad hoc committee in Parliament. And then Hlati says, morning to us, whether it's DABEE or ANCBEE, that thing is helping no one unless connected to the powerful. I basically don't care if it's there or not, says Hlati there, reflecting on the conversation we had earlier on with Khanki Matabane of Black Business Council, responding to the DA's proposed new policy that they say would replace triple BEE. And then someone else says, for the fact that Mkhwanazi lied to the ad hoc committee, I believe it's now time for the DA and MK party to go and open criminal case of perjury against Mkhwanazi as they did to Mchunu. That will be fair. If not, it means they were not serious in their ideas of getting rid of crime committed by politicians, says someone who signs off as anonymous. That alludes to the withdrawal of the allegation that General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi had made against former police minister Bheki Cele. That allegation that has to do with sending bank details to Kat Matlala, and then payment being made to that bank account of a third party. I think that's what it alludes to. That's been withdrawn now, and you will have heard Julius Malema in the ad hoc committee being among those members who are saying it's not enough for him to withdraw it by sending a message to the evidence leader. He must come back and sit in front of us so that he can tell us straight up, look us in the eye and tell us straight up what happened and how we ended up with that allegation being made and now withdrawn. All right. Keep the calls coming and the WhatsApp messages coming through. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the Friday edition of the Morning Brief.
The Natal Rich Boys and the Citizens are in a tense and dramatic clash for a semi-final spot. This is the Carling Knockout quarterfinal. Catch the KZN Derby, Richards Bay FC versus Durban City FC. This Saturday, 25 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on Mungana Lonene FM at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
14 minutes after 8. A sweeping series of road closures is set to hit Johannesburg North. In fact, I don't even know if it's North. A large part of Johannesburg, let's put it that way, on Sunday, the 26th of October. This as the Virgin Active 94/7 Ride Joburg transforms the city into a cycling hub. And it all starts around 4 a.m. until 5 p.m. Several major roads and suburbs will experience restricted movement as over 20,000 cyclists take part in one of the world's largest timed cycle races. Let's speak to JP Norke, who is race director. Good morning to you and thank you for your time, JP. So it's interesting that we always focus on the road closures because I suppose for those of us who are not cyclists, that's our encounter with the Ride Joburg. But talk to me about it as a race. What's the magnitude of the race that you are dealing with, and how does it feature in the rankings of some of the world's biggest timed races?
Wow, yeah, thank you for the introduction there, and good morning to all the listeners and to yourself. That's also a loaded question because how do I unpack that? So we really focus on getting more people on the bikes, from competitive to non-competitive to even the average Joe there that's got a huge passion just to ride for their own charity. And this particular year, we also added a charity component from our side in terms of we gave away 1,000 free entries if you earn less than 10,000. And the reason why, 10,000 Rand a month, so then you can just apply through our website and we'll basically just audit you and see if you do really earn less than 10,000, then gives you the ability to come and ride this race. And the reason why we've done it is to make it so inclusive for everyone. So we've got, if you ride on the streets now at the moment, you see commuters, you see car guards out there, they've got bikes, you've got your people that works in your garden, and they need to get to their works. And now it's giving everyone an ability to ride this beautiful race in the heart of Joburg.
Yeah.
And to come back to your question is, so the eliteness of it. So we established that we've got the highest price purse in the cycling industry at the moment. So for the first male that comes over the line, he gets 200,000 rand. Same with the first woman that gets 200,000 rand. So that's really a big price out there in the market, especially in the cycling industry.
How tough is the race, JP? I mean, my only encounter, I've never done it myself. My only encounter with it is when I would see those cyclists coming up on Jan Smuts in particular, that they look finished.
Yeah, well, if you get to Jan Smuts, that's almost by 80 kilometers, and then you've got like another 15 to go to your end spot. You mentioned something earlier, it's in the north, so we've also moved the whole start and finish venue to the FNB Stadium there in Soweto. Again, it's also to get the event more, or the ride more inclusive, and to get more people riding on their bikes. But to answer your question diligently, it is a tough race. It is the 97 kilometers is quite tough, especially from halfway all the way. So all the climbs actually starts there in Witkoppen, and then all the way through Jan Smuts to over the Nelson Mandela Bridge. If you get there, then it's almost freewheel down to the finish line.
Yeah.
But we do also have a nice option if you don't want to go that far, and it's a new introduction about 2 years ago. We've got a 35-kilometer route that you can come and ride. It's all, you join the fun, the vibe, the gears, and everything there.
Yeah.
But it's only 35 kilometers.
So do you have the equivalent of what we road runners call poly shots in the comrades? Would that be Jan Smuts?
Yeah, Jan Smuts / Hyde Park, that's the two. But Jan Smuts, the Zulu climb, that's the three ones. So it's the Hyde Park, Zulu climb, and then the Jan Smuts. That's the three, the three ugly ones.
Sure.
So it's not really a poly shot, but yeah.
Let's talk about the road closures then, JP. How expansive are they? And in terms of my past experiences, just lack of, communication and understanding of where are you supposed to have the road slightly open for you in order for you to still be able to navigate those difficulties between the various role players, JMPD and others, yourselves, that difficulty that even if you have a sticker, sometimes it just didn't help in the past years.
Yeah, so good question. We've got JMPD, JRA Motorworks, got all the city entities that's assisting us, and JMPD plays a huge role. But with that, we've got subcontractors from SARSA to Think Bike, and we've got a very good medical care, Netcare 911 that assist us with all of this. But just on a day like this, en route, I manage 2,000 people. That's from water point stations that's helping us to the road closures, JRA. It's just a whole lot of things en route. And we're just trying to make this event such a successful event and safe environment for the cyclists. Because whoever cycles on the M1, on the oncoming way of traffic, no one does it. It's like really walking into a storm here. But it's a beautiful section of it. And then the leafy suburbs, it's beautiful.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you and all of the best for the race that's coming up on Sunday. That's JP Norke, who is the race director for Ride Joburg.
This season, make Christmas magic together with Spar and Super Savings. Like 120-gram Lay's potato chips, buy any two for 38 Rand, plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 1.8-litre Ola Rich and Creamy ice cream. Buy any two for 100 Rand, plus 250 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid 21 October to 9 November 2025. While stocks last, T's and C's apply.
Amakhosi want to display a winning performance in front of their home fans. Meanwhile, the big boys from Kolwezi target away goals to return to DRC with happy hearts. This is the second leg of the second preliminary round of the CAF Confederation Cup. Witness Kaizer Chiefs versus AS Simba this Sunday, 26 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
22 minutes after 8. Baby Savers South Africa, alongside civil society partners, child protection advocates and concerned citizens, will gather at union buildings from around 9:30 to about 12:30 p.m. to protest against what they say are proposed amendments by the Department of Social Development that threaten to criminalize baby savers, monitored, safe and anonymous baby boxes that have saved hundreds of infants from unsafe abandonment. So that's from their statement, and the build up to the march. Let's find out a bit more about what this what picket, let's call it that, is all about. I'm joined by Dr. Whitney Rosenberg, who is co-founder of Baby Savers South Africa. Good morning to you, Doc, and thank you for your time. Tell me a bit more about why you are gathering at union buildings. What is this proposed change in laws, regulations around baby abandonment?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show this morning. Baby Savers South Africa, along with its members and members of the public, will be gathering at the union buildings this morning from 9:30 to oppose the proposed amendment that is contained in the Children's Amendment Bill, which will effectively make a baby saver box illegal, because the Children's Amendment Bill is saying that a child abandonment, a child who has been left in a baby saver box.
So how would the new system, if it came into existence, how would it alter how you do what you do? Because the way I understand is baby savers, these baby boxes are meant to give an option to a mother who doesn't want to keep the child.
Yes, so the role that we fulfill is actually such a life-saving, crucial role. We are there to help desperate mothers who find themselves in situations that, could be gender-based violence, forced prostitution, rape, teen pregnancies. So they're very desperate and they have nowhere else to turn. So a baby box is a last resort. Declaring this illegal would mean that there's a huge gap in our child protection system. And that obviously means that instead of turning to safe relinquishment, which is what we are, mothers will, as we've seen in the news recently, will dump their babies in spouts, dustbins, but latrines and toilets. So the sad part of that is those children, most of them die as a result of unsafe abandonment. So, and this is the huge problem with making the baby saver box illegal.
So what do you say to the argument attributed to the department that says abandoning a child in a baby box is illegal, and advising that mothers should instead contact hospitals, police and social workers for lawful options? Are those options that are on paper available, and perhaps in practice, are they available and practicable?
No. So the department does say there's options, but we know from first-hand experience that those options are not available. We know of countless women who are both minors and majors, they're adults, who have tried to give their children up for adoption. Social workers literally turn them away. So those options that the department is alleging is available is not. And that's why we fulfill this crucial role.
And then in terms of your engagement with the Department of Social Development, what's your sense? Is there still room for meaningful public participation that could perhaps lead to tweaks in terms of the proposed laws?
We are always open to engage with the department, and we've made this clear, and that's why we have also engaged with them. Unfortunately, the only has been through the media But we've always been open to engage with the department, and we think it's important to work with the department in this because this is a child protection issue. So we've tried to engage with the department, like I say. We are in litigation at the moment with them, which has also been a challenge because they haven't been forthcoming with their papers either. So, but the stance is we will work with the department should they wish to work with us.
And how should South Africans grapple with this phenomenon of baby abandonments? And I know we covered it on the show a couple of days ago. Is it your sense that whether these baby boxes are legalized or deemed illegal, baby abandonments will continue to be a phenomenon, sadly, in our society? And what drives that phenomenon?
Yeah, so Baby Saver South Africa, we don't profess that we are the answer to solve abandonment. But what we do say is we can prevent unsafe abandonment. The abandonment issue has, like I've already listed shortly, there's many causes. And those root causes are for government to deal with. And we'll certainly help. We already liaise with pregnancy counseling centers so that the baby box remains the last resort. But we're not professing that we're the solution to the root causes of child abandonment. But what we are saying is we can help prevent unsafe abandonment. Right now, we as South Africans need to consider the lives of these children. These babies have the right to life like everybody else. And that is what we aim to protect.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time, Dr. Whitney Rosenberg, who is co-founder of Baby Savers SA.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's kick off with soccer. Bafana coach Hugo Bruce saying assistant coach Helman Midnight Express Mkalele should succeed him after the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Becomes the coach after me, because then you have a follow-up, same thing. When Helman would take the team, the way of work and the philosophy, and it will stay the same with a little bit more African thing because I'm a European. But Helman, he thinks in a lot of things, in 95% of the things, he thinks the same thing as me. And that's why I'm so happy with him. I'm so happy with him. He thinks that 95% of the things is exactly the same. So it should be very good.
Let's go to Polokwane City coach now. Puti Mohafe has reminded Tabang Matuludi to put the club first, despite the excitement of his Bafana call-up.
He's a humble boy, very, very much humble, and in talking sense into his mind, just to remind him that he's still a Polokwane City player, he's still contracted to us, and he has to first give the performances that made him to be selected from the national team by playing or giving the better performances in our team. So I think he's very honest, he's very humble, and with the performances that he's giving, he should continue to be there.
There we go. Let's go to rugby. The Bulls say the 9-match suspension hanging over Springbok prop Jan-Hendrik Wessels will test the team's character ahead of tonight's URC clash with Glasgow Warriors. Coach Johan Ackerman confirms Wessels was pulled after the sanction for an alleged incident against Connacht with no TV evidence cited, and the union expected to appeal. Skipper Rowan Nokia and Marcel Coetzee returned to add leadership while the defence remains the focus after conceding 18 tries in 4 matches. And finally, in basketball, an NBA player and coach are among dozens of people arrested as part of a sweeping FBI investigation into illegal sports betting and rigged mafia-linked poker games. Miami Heat player Terry Rozier and Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chansey Billups were named by federal prosecutors. Here's Andrew Brunt, sport law professor.
It is certainly not a stretch to see what we saw today, which is that ensnared in all of this sports betting are active athletes and, to an extent, coaches with their unique and inside information that can be leveraged by bettors, some with ties to organized crime. That has all happened, And I guess my answer to you is I'm a little surprised we haven't seen this before.
And that's your sport. We'll bring you more with Spotlight with me on a Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Looking forward to it. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the Judicial Watchdog Judges Matters says given the seriousness of allegations against the Gauteng acting judge president, Aubrey Lidwaba, he should have been placed on special leave. Lidwaba has denied allegations that he was paid 2.5 million rand to secure the release of businessman and alleged criminal cartel member Katiso KT Mulife. Reserve Bank Governor Lesija Kganyago says the country is continuing to face deep structural challenges despite generally better near-term economic results. And the UDM has raised concerns about reports of students using their National Student Financial Aid Scheme allowances to gamble online. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Still pretty heavily backed up on Joburg's northern highways. Crash on the M1 South before Ravonia, so that's having a major impact on that N3 from Alex up into the roadworks at Buccleuch, and then through Buccleuch down to the crash at Ravonia. N1 North is heavy with everyone coming up from Randburg at Fourways wanting to have a look at that, and the N1 South parking back from Allendale Road in Midrand just to get through Buccleuch and into that N1 South mess. Busy coming from the other side of Joburg, Boyson's through to Braamfontein on the Mike 1 stays really quite heavily backed up as well. Pretoria, a bit of traffic on the M1 South, but generally easing up. Durban through to Pietermaritzburg. Well, if you're driving through Pietermaritzburg, quite a heavy backlog this morning. There is a sizable crash by New England Road. Everything is being stacked into this. The road temporarily closed. Big queues from Ashburton side up through Market Road and on towards that Pietermaritzburg bypass. Probably a good idea to come off at Ashburton, scoot up the R103 and pop out of Pietermaritzburg the other side. You could join at Ortman or Chotamatala or something like that. Just try and keep yourself moving. Avoid the N3 towards New England. N2 North through Spaghetti Junction still queuing. Cape Town crash N2 into town in front of Khayelitsha by the R300. That's pretty slow going. And of course the Philip Kosana Drive, Hospital Bend through the city centre means some disruption this morning coming in at Hospital Bend. It'll be a really busy day. The back end on the CBD City Bowl side as you try to come out of Cape Town. Realise you can't get onto the M3. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
All right, Ndauling Lechala is here once again to give us one more update for the morning. Ndauling, let's talk Sasol. I see that their stars are aligning very nicely.
That's right, Tilas. Now, the firm staged one of its biggest rallies in years, jumping 17% after a strong trading update and a sudden spike in global oil prices reignited investor confidence. The surge came as the US slapped new sanctions on Russia's top energy producers, a move expected to tighten crude supplies and lift prices, giving energy exporters like Sasol a short-term advantage. Now, zooming in on the update, the company said operations across its mining, fuels, and chemicals units were performing in line with guidance, keeping it on track to hit its 2026 growth targets. Coal production rose 18% in the first quarter, thanks to improved equipment reliability and higher quality output at Secunda, while fuel sales volumes continued to climb, led by the group's mobility segment. In its international business, stronger sales in the US and Europe helped offset weaker chemical prices, while Sasol also made progress on its decarbonization drive with new low-carbon boilers coming online at Natref. Now, the update and firmer oil outlook sparked Sasol's sharpest share price rebound since 2021, of course, signaling renewed belief in its recovery story after several tough trading years.
And if the stars are aligning nicely for Sasol, well, Afrimet seems to have an entire galaxy that's in almost perfect alignment, yeah?
I love these.
I'm on a roll here, Ndauling. It's a Friday. We're waiting, 25 minutes before. Yeah, boy, I must go. Yeah.
All right, getting into Afrimet's numbers, really delivering a robust interim performance, nearly doubling profit as its cement turnaround and iron ore operations boosted the firm. Revenue came in almost 30% higher, while earnings jumped 92%. The group's CEO, Andries van Heerden, said the recovery was driven by improved efficiency in its cement business, bolstered by the integration of Lafarge South Africa, acquired last year for R1 billion. The unit has reached break-even on the back of stronger sales and lower production costs. The bulk commodities division, in the meantime, also outperformed, with revenue up 54% and iron ore volumes more than doubling locally to 830,000 tons, supported by higher demand and favorable pricing. Now, Afrimat generated just close to 358 million rands in cash from operations, a marked turnaround from last year's outflows. Van Heerden said the results underscored the group's resilience amid weak industrial demand, saying Afrimat's diversification strategy continues to deliver sustainable growth, that is, as well as stability.
Lastly, Tauleng, wrap it up nicely for us. Everything you've told us this morning, how does it, quote unquote, align the stars? Okay, all right, that one, that's a bridge too far. I withdraw that one. But yeah, what kind of a trading day can we expect?
Local markets likely to start in the green today as sentiment remains positive. And it's D-Day, with investors awaiting the Financial Action Task Force's verdict on SA's grey list status. Ahead of that decision, the rand making slight gains this hour at 17.31 to the greenback. Meanwhile, in commodities, oil pulling back down 0.2%, but still trading at $65 per barrel, up from the $60-61 level at the top of the week. Back to equities, stateside markets eyeing inflation figures, and ahead of that, print futures are in the green. And then lastly, in Asia, trade is in positive territory as investors look ahead to the meeting between Presidents Xi and Trump.
All right, thank you for that. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. That's Ntauleng Lechela, keeping you updated all week long on business, economics, and the markets here on the Morning Brief.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, earlier on, Sipho Mantula and I had a moment, a Jaba moment, right? We were reflecting as part of his historical archive, Sipho's historical archive on the life of the late Jaba, Double HP. Someone wants to weigh in. We were talking about Boso Kimang. Kimang Boso Gante.
Boso Kimang Kwena.
Yeah.
Kimang Kwena. Boso Kimutu Ozo Hussein, I host the morning brief.
Oh, that's beautiful.
SAFM. Morning to us. On a lighter note, it's Friday, payday. Great show, Chief.
Thank you so much. I love it. It's beautiful, stunning. Thank you so much. Yeah, we should maximize on these moments to just take some reprieve, right? Because it can get heavy in this country. The agenda can really get heavy, as you will see now as we turn to the other issues that are on the agenda.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners of the show. Thulasizwe, we are going to have a G20 summit. The reason why we see Joburg so clean, we don't see those dirty lenders anymore. Hope they are not doing it for the G20. If they are cleaning the city, it must be a G20 every day. Not after the G20, we see the dirty lander again. Brian Mabai, Protea Glen. Thanks for the question.
Good morning to us. It's Washington from Durban. I think that they only cleaning up the city of Johannesburg because of the summit that's going to occur and all the guests that they're going to receive. And I just hope that I'm wrong and they really clean up the city of Johannesburg and bring it to its once glory. Thanks.
Yeah. Let's hope there's some momentum from it all, right? Even if perhaps the initial motivation is to beautify it ahead of the G20 and perhaps score a few political points. I wouldn't be mad at it if then it is followed by sustained momentum and you carry it forward even beyond the G20. I want to take one or two voice notes about the one about SANDF and the wearing of their uniforms by civilians, and then the other one on Panyaza Lesufi and the decisions around the Amapanyaza. Then I'll go to all of your calls that I see are lined up very nicely.
Yeah, morning, Tulas. It's heartbreaking listening to your interview with the spokesperson, whoever is representing the SNDF, that the level of lawlessness has reached this point that people can wear their uniform and nothing happens. You see, to be honest with you, the ANC or the governing party has failed this country to a point that you look back and ask yourself, what is happening in this country under their watch? Why matter like this? Black people, why is it like this?
And it might seem like a trivial thing, this whole thing about wearing a police SANDF uniform. But if you think about the implications, one, the person can impersonate a member of the SANDF such that if you encounter them, you are likely to interact with them believing that they are SANDF. Two, it's about that whole broken window principle, is it not? If you don't take care of the small things, then they add and feed to the bigger things. It should just be unthinkable that a person can wear an SANDF, SAPS uniform and prance around and believe that they'll get away with it and nothing will happen. If you've lived in any other country on the African continent, please do call in or send a voice note and share your experiences. I promise you, this is unthinkable in other countries. It's simply unthinkable. You wouldn't dare. You just wouldn't dare. But in South Africa, you'll be attending a community football match and there'll be this young kid clad in an SANDF jacket and running around. And that's an actual scene that I've witnessed in my life.
Hello, it's Ziggy Randberg, wondering whether anybody will ever hold the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, to task for recruiting thousands of uniformed, unemployable people to walk the streets like military militias in the United States.
Zig, thank you for that. Well, it seems the accountability has started, but I wonder if there'll be further consequences as far as the Premier is concerned. The Public Protector, of course, is part of that accountability. What comes after that is, I guess, what you are talking about there, Zig in Randburg. Eckhart in Gqeberha, good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I just have a general comment on BEE and the whole question of race.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if people in South Africa know that they have a choice of 5 different racial classifications.
Mm-hmm.
That's black, colored, Indian, white, and other. And other is an official classification. It's in all the census that we've had. You could choose to be other. The formal documents from various official organizations like municipalities have that option of other. And I was just wondering, how does BEE actually cater with that classification of other? Because there's no document such as ID, passport, driver's license, which specifies race. So, you know, they can't come around and say, you actually, this race, not other. I was just wondering if people
I get
know
what you're
about
saying.
that.
But Eckhart, remember, in terms of the category that says black includes a whole host of people. So you'll have African, you'll have colored, Indian. And also the other element to remember as well, Eckhart, is that BEE also talks to disadvantage in terms of gender, for example. So if you're a woman, you fall into that category. Then you have people with disabilities. So there's a whole host of factors of disadvantage that go into it.
Thulas, I don't have a problem with that. It's just that people should, if they aren't interested in race, they classify themselves as other.
Gotcha.
And nobody can change that classification. They can choose it.
Gotcha. Eckhart, thank you so much for that. Let me go to Denzel in Nelson Mandela Bay. Good morning to you, Denzel. Is it Denzel or Denzel? Which one is it?
Denver, D-E-N-V-E-R, Thulasizwe.
Denville. Oh, you see, I was renaming you here.
Yes, thank you for
Denville,
renaming
please
me.
go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Thulasizwe. Good morning to the listeners. I just want to touch on the BEE, the proposal, the bill that is coming potentially from the DA to counter the one that has been implemented already by our current government since 1994. I just want to say, everything starts with a leader. Everything rises and falls with the leader. I think we need to reverse back to say, let's review what we have. Because we've got notable initiatives already since 1994. We've got the NDP, we've got the New Growth Plan, and then also the Triple BEE since 1994. It's 31 years down the line. If something did not work, we can look at other things, but let's look at what we have now. Everything starts with a leader. I'm going to say good governance is the first point of departure to address or redress all apartheid, oppressive laws versus where we want to go as a country, Thulasizwe. I want to say that for us to ensure that this country goes forward, we need to look at good, clean governance that ensures, the promotion of transparency, number one, accountability, and good governance practices. That will help to build trust and attract investment because we are bleeding, as you know, Thulasizwe, we are bleeding jobs. We are bleeding jobs in Kariega, a company that was here for years. That is your good year. You don't speak about that.
Yeah.
How can we allow, companies to close up after all these years? Something must be wrong. So I would say a country called what is this place? There's a country that said before they start anything, they started with their leadership.
Sure.
So I think homework for our leaders, the current leaders and the aspiring leaders.
All right.
Let's start with good governance.
Denville, thank you.
Then we take it from there.
All right, Denville.
Especially, Thulasizwe, my final point is, I want to say that we need to strengthen the aspect of consequence management, especially in Mzansi, South Africa.
Gotcha.
And I want to close to say South Africa will be great again. South Africa will rise again.
Gotcha.
Our
Danville,
country-
thank you. Danville there in Nelson Mandela Bay. Let me go to Puti Nkonki in Indwe. Good morning to you, Puti. Puti, good morning.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Thulasizwe.
Yes.
Thulasizwe, look, I wanted to chip in around the issue of the committee.
Yes, the ad hoc committee.
Yes, these guys have a lot of freedom of speech there, but I wanted to check with you in advice, maybe an expert out there listening.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say one of the MK parliamentarians once raised mentioned your colleague Kretsi Motlatlane, but never mentioned exactly what specifically Kretsi had done.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when Kretsi tried to challenge him to say this out of parliament in the form of interview,
yes,
the guy refused flatly. I know what the reason behind that, because they have that privilege in parliament, and I know you cannot challenge or sue the person out of what he said in parliament.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at what is happening. There's a guy who allegedly was ambushed in all the stuff and has claimed that he's going to sue Khune. But on what basis? Or is that privilege, does it not exist now in Khune's case?
I see what you're
and
saying.
The other thing that worries me a lot, when the chairperson was giving ground rules for the commission, he mentioned something of perjury. And perjury only can be used when the person lies under oath. Now, in the case of Khune, yes, that person can challenge in the terms of perjury.
Yeah.
But others, is there any remedy then against the minister?
All right,
it worries me because you can't allow people to just throw words as if they're throwing bones to a bulldog.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Puti. Appreciate it.
Let me leave immediately.
Immediately now or immediately in 3 weeks' time? Cheers, Puti.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Heavy pressure northern parts of Joburg on the highway networks. A crash on the M1 south at Rivonia. So effectively that queue's back on the N3 going north. So the N3 coming up from Alex has a crash before Marlborough Drive. So that's queue number 1 into that. You get past that and you stay in very heavy traffic up to the roadworks at Buccleuch. Okay, we're still riding N3 north. So really from Alex all the way through to Buccleuch, it's extra heavy. And then from Buccleuch, it becomes the N1 south down to Rivonia. And then you're queuing into that crash scene. So basically from London Road, it's all the way through to Rivonia Road. It's a mess. So bad that the M1 South queues from Allendale getting into Buccleuch for connections onto that Mike 1 South. And a lot of motorists, I think, just avoiding that and routing through the Mike 1 down towards sort of Marlborough Drive. So there's some real pressure there as well. Crash approaching the airport. No, beg your pardon. It's not a crash. It looks like the cops are doing something there. R21 at Atlas Road. So just coming down from Tembisa, Upsfontein on your way to the airport. It is heavy. And don't forget, from 9 o'clock this morning until about 1 p.m. this afternoon, there'll be all sort of restrictions across Gauteng highways and byways, primarily from OR Tambo into central Joburg and from Lanseria along Malabongwe Drive. Closures that have local routes around Nasrec, around Sandton, Melrose and the Randburg area. It's a dry run for the G20 conference or G20 summit VIP transport, if you like. So a lot of world leaders coming into Joburg, and it'll be a dry run to test the sort of convoy option. So it will be a morning and early afternoon of disruption. Heading up to Pietermaritzburg through Ashburton to Market Road, it stays heavy on that N3. The earlier crash at New England Road is being clear, but it's just really slow in that Ashburton area this morning. And then Cape Town, collision N2 into town in front of Khayelitsha just before the R300. The N2 sluggish approaching that one. And Philip Kosana Drive still closed and will be till Monday. Closed at Hospital Bend, closed at the city centre side. So you've got the delay coming through Hospital Bend this morning. But what happens from about now onwards, the city side of that gets really busy. You can't get out of town on the M3, so you go down City Bowl and CBD and try and get out Nelson Mandela Boulevard, and that just causes a lot of pressure. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Introducing South Africa's most affordable way to get hearing aids. At Specsavers Audiology, you can now get a pair of hearing aids from as little as 599 Rand per month. Hearing clearly shouldn't be a luxury. Enjoy life's moments from 599 Rand per month. Test your hearing today and join the conversation with Specsavers Audiology. T's and C's apply.
It's jam-packed with pressure on the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2 in the first elimination challenge as the contestants learn how to make their own jams and preserves from scratch. Who will spread the love and who will get themselves in a sticky situation? That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Good morning, Caesar. Good morning, Caesar. I know that interview with that public protector, you were very soft on her. She comes 2 years later to give you a report about, it gives us a report as a nation about Amapanyazo. Where was she when this thing was launched? Why did she do an investigation back then? No, you're too soft on her. Very soft.
Good morning to us and listeners of SAFM. I don't know. I thought the public protector's remedial actions were no longer binding. I thought they were only binding during the time of Thuli Madonsela. Because now when Mukwebane was the public protector, we were told that the public protector remedial actions are no longer binding. So when did they go back to binding, or did I miss something? Thank you.
I hear exactly, and I pick up the point that you are making about that, but I don't have time to really engage because I want to squeeze in as many calls as possible. Lord in Alberton, good morning.
My brother,
short and sharp for me, please. Yes.
Yes, my brother. The judiciary remains the hallmark against any encroachment of the legal principles across the world for any country. These allegations are against the acting judge president, Lidlaba. They are very deeply concerning, brother. And then this matter has reached the office of our Chief Justice. And then I will submit that there should be an actionable measure through that Judicial Conduct Committee to condemn and investigate these gross allegations which amount to misconduct from where I'm standing.
Yeah.
We must not forget what happened in that magistrate, in that court, when the magistrate granted Bushiri and his wife bail against all the evidence that was presented by the state. Thulasizwe. Yes, so something might be true in this one. Let me paraphrase my comment, Thulasizwe, by quoting this quick one. The power of a judiciary lies not in deciding cases, nor in imposing sentences, nor in punishing for contempt, but in the trust, faith, and confidence of the common man. I close that quote. It's from John Marshall, who was the former Chief Justice of the United States of America.
Nice.
Thanks.
Lord, thank you for that. As always, Lord, ending it off nicely with a quote there. Peggy in Bombela, good morning.
A very good morning to you, Thulas. I just want to make a few comments as far as the ad hoc committee is concerned, particularly General Peggy Taylor. I must give him his flowers while he's still alive. When a picture was drawn by General Mkhwanazi, understanding his anger, if I were in his shoes, I would have been angered by the way things were unfolding between Matlala and Peggy Taylor. But after his explanation, explaining it with conviction, understanding of the police and the role, and I applaud him for that. He's a man to be listened to because we've got much to put on the table that will give our country a better direction and a better understanding of the things. He's well informed and he knows the procedures, he knows the police inside and out in all their ranks, and I'm happy about that. I just wanted to submit that I'm happy the way he articulates himself, the way he addresses the committee members. I'm very happy to last, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Peggy. Peggy out in Bombela. I saw a lot of that sentiment while former Police Minister Peggy Cele was testifying yesterday. Gwanele in the Western Cape. Good morning. Please short and sharp for me, if you don't mind.
Good morning. How is it?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
I'm good. I'm only going to speak about my assault that happened here in Western Cape.
Yes.
Yeah, we were at some pub and we were three gents. There was this one guy called Khan. He assaulted one of my friends. I asked the bouncers to keep him inside so I can take my friend home. I took my friend home. As we were walking home, he came running with tongue and started assaulting us. He assaulted me the most. I woke up just in the hospital yesterday. From Sunday late.
Sure.
It happened Sunday late. So I woke up at the hospital just yesterday. I did an operation on my hand, and they saying I must go back do an operation on the face because my jaws are broken.
Jeez.
So my friends, the two other friends of mine, they say they were arrested because the guy that assaulted me is dead. But no one asked me for my statement. I was taken to the hospital by a police van on that day when I was assaulted. That police van didn't ask anything. They just dropped me off at the hospital and left. Woke up, I'm in Cape Town, far from where I stay. I'm there in the hospital.
Sure.
No one asked me anything. No one asked for my statement. The only thing I hear is my friends were arrested. How they were arrested? For what? Because that guy assaulted me.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it was a mistake on my part to take your call so close to the news. So I will admit to that and then say, let's try and reconnect with you so that you take the story to its conclusion, because I do feel that there's a point you're trying to raise by relating your horrible experience that you had. So we'll have to call you back in the coming days. That's it, really. Completely out of time. Stand by. The Talking Point with Kethi Mohlahlana coming up next here on SAFM after the news with Ann Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, judges' matter weighs in on allegations against Gauteng acting judge president, and Kganyago warns of structural constraints. Good morning. The judicial watchdog Judges Matters says given the seriousness of allegations against the Gauteng acting judge president, Aubrey Ledwaba, he should have been placed on special leave. Ledwaba has denied allegations that he was paid 2.5 million rand to secure the release of businessman and alleged criminal cartel member Katiso Katie Mulife. Witness A implicated Ledwaba in his testimony before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria earlier this week. He has denied receiving any money from Mulife. The judicial watchdog's Mbegizeli Benjamin.
In our view, it would have been more prudent for the Judge President to step back until these are cleared and then can resume his work. The Judicial Service Commission Act only kicks in when an allegation is made and substantiated with supporting evidence, and that has to be done on affidavit. Without that affidavit, without that information, the JSC Act cannot apply, and so the JSC cannot investigate those allegations. The crucial thing now is for the three witnesses who have testified at the Madlanga Commission to provide some sort of supporting information, because at this stage, the information that they have provided is obviously quite important, but it's not enough, unfortunately.
Reserve Bank Governor Lesija Kganyago says the country is continuing to face deep structural challenges despite generally better near-term economic results. The challenges include infrastructure deficiencies, high public debt levels and weak investment. Kganyago says the current global challenges could erode some of the recent gains.
It is a very volatile environment that we are in. And all of these tensions, trade and geopolitical, are likely to slow down global growth and keep inflation in focus. Here at home, growth has exceeded expectations in the second quarter, lifting the projected annual growth rate slightly. Continued reforms remain crucial to unlocking South Africa's growth potential. Inflation has stayed low and stable, closer to 3%.
The UDM has raised concerns about reports of students using their National Student Financial Aid Scheme allowances to gamble online. It says the issue should be discussed at the National Dialogue. The UDM also says gambling is deepening poverty. It's demanding government regulate online gambling platforms, restrict advertising and